Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It is, what is it? It's Thursday, October the 16th. Thursday, October the 16th. Paul English Live here, episode, look, I don't know what number it is, 109. 109. Hope you've all had a cracking week. Welcome to the show. Just fiddling here with my technical bits, everybody. I know you're all keen to know. Falls across the land. The midnight hour is, well, nearly at hand. It's about 4 hours away here in the UK. And quite nippy tonight. I think my my knee test has now come in because I'm still courageously wearing the shorts, as one does. My goal really is to get through to November in shorts. But I'm just beginning to we're getting at the cutting edge of things now. That's really what's beginning to happen. And I've got cold knees here right now. This could prove problematic as the show rolls on. I don't really know. I suppose I could do something ludicrous, like actually turn the heating on in the shed of doom here, but that would be a bit extravagant, really, and of course it would cost me thousands of pounds to do so. Another person who's probably not suffering from cold knees is Eric von Essex. And Eric, good evening. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. And I've got my thermals on because it's so bleeding cold.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's very cold. Well, I'm further north than you. I'm in Hertfordshire, aren't I? You know, a centre of civilization as we know it. But
you are.
Yes. But we've had this depressing, overcast weather for days and days. It's beginning to get to me a bit. I mean, has it got to you yet?
No, I think I've become robust because we've had this depressing, overcast government situation for over a year.
Yes.
We've got this depressing, overcast world condition. We've also got this depressing, overcast banking condition. We've got a depressing, overcast media lying condition. So yes. I think I've become quite robust to all this sort of stuff. I don't know what you're like. Let's all stay chipper and ignore it.
Hey, that's it. The sun shines in our heart. And remember, when it rains, it's liquid sunshine. So there we go.
It is.
But I don't want to brag, but excuse me, I'm going to have to.
Go on, brag away.
On my show, I actually had Keir Starmer come on. He was actually on my show.
Did he?
And yes, but not actually him. It was a part of him. And I wonder if the audience can guess what part it was. So there we go.
I think I know.
The mind boggles. He sent the best part of him, though. It was the very, very, very best part of him.
Well, I've been. Yeah, he did. I mean, I've been calling and trying to get him, and all I ever get on his answer machine is. It's a bit much, really. It's a bit much. I haven't played that one in ages, so we got to play it all the time. But yeah, I think it's worth almost like kicking off, Eric, with a quick acknowledgement to the Whiz Bang show that you had on Monday evening, don't you? I think many we've got cross-listeners cross-pollinating, but it really was a bit of a blast on Monday, wasn't it? It was.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was Nathan, Alan B, and the bowler hat farmer.
Yeah.
And boy, wasn't that it? There was. I don't know whether you felt this, Paul, but there was like a magic to it. There was a kind of buzz, wasn't there?
There was a sort of spiritual energy that came in out of the. Yeah. Well, there was actually. I suppose we can sort of. I think it's because obviously much of what we talk about is what do we talk about? No, I don't mean that. I mean, what do we do? And the reason why the show was of a different energy was because it was very constructive. It really was. And so for people that didn't catch it, because that show doesn't go out over WBN, and shout out to everybody in Rumble and YouTube chats. Great to see everybody here, and also on WBN and on Radio Soapbox and Holy Land Radio and Global Voice Network and Eurofolk Radio, where we're banging out all over the place. So if you're tuning in, wherever you're tuning in, welcome to the show. But many of you would not have caught Eric's show on Monday evening. And I thought the return of Mark the bowler-hatted farmer was it was quite a return, really, wasn't it? Because I know that when I've spoken to you over the last couple of months, you've mentioned to me that where is he? Where's he gone? And of course, he explained all this. He'd been basically on this great on his travels across England for the last 7 months, talking to all these farmers. So it was excellent. It was excellent.
It really was, and he came up with. He's really positive, wasn't he, about things changing, where farmers will be hopefully selling directly to us, and which is marvellous because. And what he said about supermarkets, was it 3%? That's all they have. And if they lose 1% of their profit, they have a directors' meeting, and another percent, they're in real big trouble. And he said, so we need to vote with our feet. To get, to really change things.
Yeah, I think it's worth going over that again. So basically, obviously, I mean, I don't know what the situation is in the United States, but over here we've got maybe, half a dozen big supermarket chains. What we got? Aldi and Lidl, which are the German arrivees over the past, 10 years, is it, or something? Maybe it's shorter.
New kids on the block.
Relatively
new,
but they're massive businesses, very well run. I quite like them. I get certain things from there. So there's, not for everything. You've got to watch what you buy wherever you go. I don't know if I've ever mentioned about Aldi and Lidl. Their cash flow is so colossal that they don't really need to make any profit on the actual stuff that they sell. That's why everything is so low cost. Because what they're doing it's true. I mean, this is when you're talking about these businesses at this scale, like billions of stuff flowing through all over the place. What they do, that one of the main sources of their profit or revenue centres is that their cash flow being so strong, and the banks always never having enough cash because they keep on wanting to issue credit as loans and blah, 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 blah. They lend it to the banks on the overnight rate.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Wow. Because I know that Henry Fall, when he died, they found this massive safe, and he kept all his lolly in this massive safe because he didn't trust banks. Yeah, seriously. That's actual fact. Yeah. So good for him.
Yeah, no, really, seriously, good for him. And I think, so I mean, that's Aldi and Lidl. Who else have we got? We got Marks and Spencer's, although they've got a great reputation, but they're not as huge as the other ones. Then we've got Asda, is it? And Tesco, and Sainsbury's, Tesco. And Morrison's. And have I left any out? Maybe there's, I don't know. Those are the biggies, aren't they? Those are the big ones.
Well, yes, right. But I think the biggest is Tesco's. I think Tesco's is the biggest.
Yeah.
Because, was it Asda? They're owned by Walmart, I think. I think they're American.
Yeah.
And because they started putting in American ideas, which didn't work in this country, and that was an introducer in the foyer. So some old boy standing there in his suit saying hello to everybody, and who the bloody hell's he? Who? What? And that's not very English. So I think they did away with it. They scrapped that idea. And then they had small trolleys for little children. That didn't really work very well either. Yep. So they had to learn the English style. But the funniest one is, what's that place? It used to be owned by Sainsbury's. They've gone down. They sold garden stuff and tools and all kinds of things like that.
Okay. There's the co-op as well. We talked about the co-op a bit as well. There's the co-op and stuff like that. But the gist of what he was saying, what Mark was saying, just echoing what you were saying a minute or so ago before we tried to remember all the supermarkets, was that with just a small drop in their revenues, it sets alarm bells off in a big way, as you were just saying. So 1% drop, they have to have a certain meeting. 2% drop, it's a board meeting. 3% drop, company's going under. It's that kind of thing. It's that because they're working on very, very small margins, obviously. So it's all about this colossal cash flow. I'm sure basically the supermarkets must account for what? It must be well over 50% of the daily spend in the country. Do you think? Or maybe that's a bit too much, but it's got to be an awful lot.
But
yeah.
But Alvin Kurtz said that the only UK owned is Farm Foods, Scottish owned, I believe. We've only got one down here, and I've never been in there. I think it's mainly up north, Farm Foods. We don't seem to have them down south. Do you know of them, Paul?
I've heard of them. I think I might know them from, absolutely. I mean, I was always, it's interesting that it's just such a small drop that precipitates such concern. And I think what was really constructive about the show, I've been following up on it actually since, where are we now? Thursday. So that was Monday evening. I was out in the street. I'm like a sort of street salesman in my local area. And I keep bumping into people. You know, it's very interesting as well as I'm doing this because there are people who you kind of are neighbours that you speak to the most frequently of all, which of course I suppose these days is not that frequently. If you know what, it's not like every day. I don't see the same neighbours every day, although there are people on my doorstep. So I'll speak to them once or twice a week. That's the most frequent, yeah. And then there are other people within about 30 yards that I haven't seen for like years. I don't know if I'd mentioned, I was walking down the road the other week and there's a fella struggling, carrying, an elderly fella, not so big, struggling carrying this stuff. I said, you want a hand? He said, no, I'm okay. He was Scottish. I'm terrible with Scottish accents. I've got to get in the mood. He said, no, I won't be... I don't need any help. And I got talking to him. And it turns out he's my next door neighbour, i.e. he's about 50 yards away, but he's round the other side of the cul-de-sac. And he's lived here for the same amount of time as we have, 25 years. And I'd never, ever met him. That's what it's like.
Good heavens.
Yeah. And he said, I'm from Scotland. I said, all right. He said, do you know what I'm called? I said, I don't know. Jimmy? He went, aye, Jimmy. And he burst out laughing. It was great. He was really happy that it was Jimmy. And I said, well, you don't look too bad. Yeah. He said, it's the golden nectar. So he has a whiskey for breakfast every day. It was great. He was a lovely fella. I really enjoyed him. And he was just struggling. You know, his wife's not well. They're in their advancing years and near the ends of innings and things. And so I'm bumping into people like this all the time. But yeah, there you go. You have strangers. I bet everybody's like this. I bet you've got strangers within 30 yards of you. You might have been there for years. You've probably never said a word to them. And I'm thinking about this a lot, really, about this sort of, lack of connectivity. I mean, I used to have a lot of connection with neighbours when I was a kid. I bet you did, but that's because I kept kicking the football in their garden. Hey, get that ball out of that yard, you. Have you been kicking your ball into Mr. Smith's garden again? Couldn't help it, Dad. Did you have that? Did you have that? I knew all of them.
No, I never. Not really. It was kids kicking balls into our garden. That was the problem.
Oh, you're the one with a really big garden. It was you, was it?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. But actually, this Jimmy, I mean, wasn't he famous for his riddles? I think he wasn't he?
Oh, he was, yeah. I've got to knock on his door and go and see how he is because, and I think, it must be something to do with my time of life and that I'm out there. I mean, I'm walking a lot. I walk every day. And it gets a bit boring. So whenever I see anybody, of course, unfortunately, they're all running away because they know I'm going to talk to them. No, they don't. They don't know who I am. But I end up having some pretty good chats with people. And I think I mentioned there's this old gal around here whose memory's going. I bumped into her yesterday. She's, every time I meet her, I go, hi there, Josephina. And she goes, do you know me? I'm going, yes. It's really funny in a way. She's very sweet. She's not too bad, but every time she heads off to the main road, I'm going, whoa, hang on, just a minute, love, come here. And she's basically okay, but she's sometimes sort of wandering around by herself because she...
bless her.
Yeah, it's things like this. So I'm obviously at that age. If you're younger, this stuff, you'll think I've gone slightly sort of funny about it. And I wasn't like this 10 or 15 years ago, too busy sort of running my own life. But I've got this sort of time. So you bump into people and you want to speak to them and see what's going on with them. I bumped into a couple. I think we last engaged with them here when my sons were really young. So this would be about 2005. I hadn't seen them since then. They're still only about 100 yards away. And after Monday, I think I bumped into them Tuesday lunchtime, just walking along. And I said, hey, do you mind? I said, I know we kind of know each other by sight. And they're going, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And I just got talking about the farming thing again,
Good.
Yeah, I just said, as a follow-on from Monday night and also from what I've been doing the previous week, I don't know whether I'm going to actually be able to land anything with this or make it real, but it's got a little momentum to it. I'm getting worried now because I think I've created a big job for myself. So I'm already looking to sort of, what's the word, hand a bit of the work off to others. I need to delegate a bit or get a little team going. But I talked to them for about 5 minutes as we're just trudging along. And they were interested. And people respond in different ways. They were the sort of people I felt I couldn't talk to about the ID. I just had this instinct. I thought that's going too far. But they were kind of quite keen about the farming stuff. And I said, look, I don't know what you think. I said, maybe you think I'm a bit paranoid. I said, but I think things in the country are a little bit worse than just a slight political upheaval. And they went, yeah, most people say that. That's as far as I go with it. I don't want to get plunging into all of that kind of stuff. But everybody I've spoken to so far has said, yeah, count me in. I'm on for that. So that was good. And you know that Mark was talking about Food Hub, wasn't he, on your show on Monday?
Yes, right. Food Hub, yes.
And I've been there, found a local vegetable shop. There's not as many on it as I was hoping. There's only about 4 within my postcode. One of them, interestingly, is the place where we get our raw milk from, although we've not got any for a couple of months because we've just not been up there. And I'm just looking at all this thinking, okay, this is just a matter of me getting it organised and making sure that I put in sort of like half a day a week or whatever it is to start pulling all this together. So it's encouraging.
I think
Eric,
it is encouraging, and I think people need to be stimulated and so, because the situation has deliberately depressed people. This is part of ideological subversion. And we've got to fight against that because the government is using their weapon against us. But the more we can get over to people that the government are the mob, they are the mafia, and their heavies, their gangland, their heavies are the police.
Yes.
We've got to protect ourselves. And I just don't look at... I look on all MPs, as far as I'm concerned, as the lowest of the low. But what I was going to say is earlier was Homebase. Now, do you remember Homebase?
Yeah, I do.
They're still around.
Yep.
They were taken over by an Australian firm. And, of course, in Australia, the seasons are different to ours. When it's our winter, it's their summer. And they didn't realise this. So in midwinter, they were selling barbecue stuff and outdoor stuff.
Still, have you ever had a barbie in the winter? Have you ever had one?
No. No, not
good.
really, no.
Oh, they're great. They're fantastic stuff. I remember...
We don't have to freeze anything, do you?
Yeah, well, you know, no, you don't need to do that. And you drink stay cold, so you don't have to put any ice on for your guests.
No.
You do, obviously, they need to be wearing their thermalactic underwear and their long johns and everything. But it's great. I remember we had a friend here locally. He's actually a good chef. And I've still not done this. I think he had one of those big gas barbecue things, Oh, and he put 2 chickens in there, whole massive chickens in there. And I thought, what, the whole chicken? And it was just done brilliantly, because when I do it on a charcoal thing, it just goes black, right? It doesn't cook through.
Oh,
he knew exactly. Yeah. It was all wrapped up in tin foil, and he put the lid on and all this kind of stuff. It was just fantastic. We're all out there having a cold beer, sort of pulling chicken legs off. I'm getting quite hungry now thinking about it. And
yes, I'm salivating as well, yes.
Are you?
Yes. I'm feeling quite hungry. But no, chicken, I mean, the thing is that if a barbecue is done well, it's good. But if it's done bad, it's bloody awful. You know, I've been to barbecues now where you've had a half raw and half burnt sausage and things like that.
Oh, you've got to watch those sausages. Yeah, they can they can kick back on you if they're not cooked right. I mean, I was out with some other guys last night. I'm out every night now, Eric. I'm a right social tart. I'm out every night. No, I'm not really. These are guys I've sort of intermittently played golf with. I've known them for donkey's years, actually, because we raised our children together. So we kind of connected through all the sort of junior schools 20 years back and all that kind of stuff. I haven't seen them for a little while. It's been a sort of funny year for me and for some of them too. And so we go over to this pub, which is really a nice pub, but very quiet. Really, really just too quiet, And last orders there were 10 o'clock. And I'm thinking, and when they said this, I said, what, really? on a Wednesday night, 10 o'clock. Are you sure? They went, yeah, we got. And I thought, if anybody knows that last order's at 10 o'clock, they wouldn't even go in the first place, would they? You know, because people come home from work, they've got to get out for 8. You sit down, all your mates turn up by 8:30. You've got 90 minutes. It's a joke. I thought, I need another hour. I'm used to getting kicked out of a pub about 11:15, you know. How many homes to be going to and all? I'm not a big drinker these days. Not that I ever was, but I just thought, well, this is naff, you know. And there was only 2 other people in there, so I started talking to them, and you know, as well as there were about 3 or 4 of us there. It was a nice evening, but I'm just going, God, this is a bit lame. It's lame, you know. I just, you know, I don't know what I expect.
I know what you mean, but I like the traditional type places, because the 2 Ronnies did a sketch in a pub called The Huntsman, which is at Goose Green, which is not far from me. It's near Hoddesdon, on the outskirts of Hoddesdon.
Right.
And as you walk in there, it's like a time machine. You just walk back in time. It is a traditional English pub, and it's beautiful. And luckily they haven't changed it. For how long it's going to keep like that, I don't know. But there's no jukeboxes or anything like that. It's all traditional. And you could say it's 1940 or 1929, and you'd believe it. It's just oldie worldy. It's timeless, and there's very few pubs like that, you know. But do you remember when it was all the rage to have suckling pig on a barbecue? Do you remember that?
I do. Yes, I do. It's
a long time ago. Well, when I went to Austria on holiday, they had a suckling pig roast. You see, and I don't think it was cooked very well. And normally I got a cast iron stomach, but this sort of, you know, I might have had a lager too many, and this sort of, I had difficulty in keeping it down in the early hours of the morning, you see. And in Austria, they had these, have you seen these loos that have got like a shelf on them, so you could see what business you've done? And when I went into the loo to throw up, somebody hadn't pulled the chain.
When I went into the loo to throw up, that's a line, Eric.
Yeah, so I went to that sort of, and I couldn't find the flush sort of place where you.
Oh, you just disappeared. Where have you gone? Where have you gone?
That's it. I'm back again. Sorry. Yeah,
that's all right.
Yeah, and yes, it was something. It's like the Cilla. Was it the Cilla Black? No, Sandy Shaw tune. Always something there to remind me, and it certainly was. So that made me try up even more, you know. And I was trying to find the light, and I was in a terrible state, and I thought, well, you know. Yes, I'll never forget that. But that's the trouble with pork. It's got to be cooked very, very well. Same with chicken. Chicken and pork have got to be cooked well.
Well, I don't eat pork.
Can go inside,
I don't eat pork anymore.
Really?
Why
not?
Not after I saw that video about a pig's digestive system. No, I don't.
Really?
No. It put me right off. And my sons are eating lots of pork sausages. I said, you want to go watch that? Because they don't. And I sound like a right hypocrite. Listen, smoky bacon sandwiches, yeah. They're amazing, right? And they're just amazing. But after I've seen this thing about a pig's digestion system, and I understood why it was kind of God's vacuum cleaner, because whatever's going on in their stomach, it'll digest anything. I mean, just including one another.
Yeah.
You know, that they eat one another. And at times when they're really peckish, and I'm thinking, I think I need to leave that creature alone, frankly. I think I'm just going to leave it alone. So it might sound a bit silly. Maybe I'm just completely wet in my middle years. I have no idea. But, yeah. I mean, the lads
that's
I was
why
with,
so many
way,
religions.
Yeah.
Look at Judaism and Muslims. They don't eat pork, do they?
No. Well, it's for that reason. Actually. Back in the day, you never knew what they were eating. I mean, they could have been eating dead bodies, you see. I don't know, you know, we don't know about what all the hygiene was like. Not that I'm particularly interested. I don't want any books, by the way, on ancient hygiene. Modern hygiene's enough as a challenge as it is, really.
Well, did you know but in China, the dunny was over the pigsty. Seriously. That's the way they did it. So you went to the dunny, and as I say, in Australia, and it went into the pigs. Pigs went at it.
Right.
So there we go.
Have you ever what's
own...
that story about? Oh, you reminded me of another story about Thailand and pigs and something. Oh, yeah. I can't remember. If it comes in, I'll try and tell it. But if I say it now, I'm going to completely bugger it up. Don't want to do that, do you? You know, when you tell an anecdote, it's completely cocked up. There's nothing worse, is there?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Do you?
Yeah. But no, actually, no, pigs. You got a good point there. But actually, when you do bacon, you don't fry it. You put it in the frying pan, put a little drop of water in there, and then you let the water boil dry, and the fat from the pork and it comes out absolutely crispy as anything, and it's moist as well. Whereas if you put it into a frying pan with a bit of lard, then it won't. And that's apparently why the top chefs do it. They actually boil it first. So there we go.
Hey, actually, I had a little. You've reminded me of something. You know, you just mentioned about going to the toilet and everything, and then we were talking about supermarkets and stuff.
Yeah,
I got
a link there.
My brother sent me this letter from Viz, which I've got to read out, everybody, so brace yourself. But this got me. So let me read it to you. Just brace yourself, because this is... It says it's from B. Chumley Warner. Sent this in by email to Viz magazine. I don't know when. I don't have a year. I think it's relatively recently. He says, you know when you're sitting on the loo and realise that there's no toilet paper, so you have to do that silly trousers down waddle to go and get some? The guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? He says, well, he says, I'm nearly at Tesco's now and I've had some very strange looks. It's a bloke thing. You ladies would never do anything quite so bad and terrible, but it's definitely a bloke thing.
It's like, what was it? I went into B&Q, and the one of the assistants came up to me and asked if I want decking, so I decided to get the first punch in. Sorry.
Yeah, they're good. This is not gonna be a Viz letters night, as far as I'm aware. I've got nothing prepped on that front, so much to the relief of many, I guess, or the disappointment of others. Who knows? But yeah.
Well, do you know who I think Starmer sounds like?
Who does
you
he
remember
sound like?
Stanley Unwin. Now, do you remember? That's going back a few years.
I do.
Professor Stanley Unwin.
Mm-hmm.
So Professor Stanley Unwin makes more sense than Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
When you listen to him.
He does. He does. Yeah. Well, look, if I'd known, I would have got some Stanley Unwin clips, because I would imagine our American listeners wouldn't have a clue what we're talking about. What was he called? His language? Was it Unwinese or something? I mean, he literally...
Something like that.
Yeah. It was very...
He was brilliant.
It was brilliant. It wasn't always funny, but you were sort of... It's a bit like with Ronnie Barker, although Ronnie Barker was always funny. And it's sort of a more surreal version of what Ronnie Barker used to do with language. It's extremely strange, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you another one is an interview that Patrick Moore did with a bloke that could speak... was it Venetian? Not Venetian, no. What's a planet now? Plutonian.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good grief. I've seen that.
Oh,
I know exactly what you mean.
That's a classic. That man would be...
And he's just making this crap up.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That man should be the Fockham cultural attaché if he's still alive, or even the Prime Minister of Fockham. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He's a bleeding fruitcake, isn't he?
Yeah, it was. By the way, just to let you know, everybody who's tuning in here for our first hour usually is a sort of rambling monologue, dialogue. We just do our thing here. I've got a couple of things I want to bring up, but we've got a guest scheduled in to join us for hours 2 and 3. Eli James is due to return with us, which I'm quite looking forward to. I've got a very interesting story to recall. Well, actually, maybe a tedious story. About my little walks yesterday when I sat down and spoke to some Jehovah's Witnesses. But that's for after the top of the hour. I could hear everybody going, right, I'm off. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's fun. But I don't want to say any more about it. I'll talk to anyone, me. I'm serious. Anybody, because I'm just going, right, don't prejudge stuff like that. But... so just to let you know, Eli James should be with us for hours 2 and 3, or at least sometime after the first hour. So that's cool, all depending on what his schedule's like. Really? And we were also talking, I was looking to get Nathan Lucius on for today. Obviously, he's not here right now, and Eric has been chasing him up a bit. So Nathan, I don't know if you're listening or whatever, but we do understand that you've got slight connectivity challenges currently. But Nathan's due to be with us next week. Nathan works a great deal with Steve. He's the author of the book Fake Awake, and they also run a Telegram group called the Occult Academy, which is excellent. I just joined it recently. I still don't get enough time to actually scour all these different information sources I've got. I don't know what it's like for you guys out there, but there's just so much. and finding, sorting the wheat from the chaff is tricky, but it looks very wheaty over there. Steve's written some excellent posts, and I know that Nathan's involved, and he gave me a big welcome when I signed up. I'd been looking for it for ages. So the Occult Academy, a quick shout out to that. If you're looking for a good Telegram group, I know you've probably already, if you're on Telegram, you're probably in thousands of groups already, but there's some really, really good stuff in there. Very pointed, constructive, sharp stuff, really about dealing with morals and ethics and good behaviour, things that obviously we touch upon here. In all sorts of ways.
Steve also runs another group called Survive the Apocalypse. And he has a lot of advice on, simple things like, for example, when he was talking about self-defence. And people are going to laugh now. He showed how women can use this, how you can defend yourself, and this is 100% true, with a toothbrush. And it was quite amazing what he said. I thought he was having a laugh, but he meant it. And he showed you. And what you do, you've got to get, he reckons the bamboo handled one's the best. He said, the police can't do you for having a toothbrush on you because it's not an offensive weapon. So you can carry it in your top pocket. And he said, if you punch someone, you can actually do serious damage to your wrist because you're not trained to do it. But he said, if you've got a toothbrush handle in your hand, that hits somebody, he said, it's really painful. He said, it really is. And he said, and it won't damage your wrist. So I can understand these little supposedly innocuous things and bits and bobs that you have about your person. I heard him talking about, I suppose when you're using the toothbrush and you're sort of inflicting a little bit of pain on someone, you're also smiling at them and showing them just how clean your teeth are at the same time. That's right. And you get they can get fluoride poisoning if you put fluoride toothpaste on the toothbrush beforehand. You see, so
who knew
a little bit of a thought
that dentistry would applied in a particular way would be so devastatingly harmful. It's just horrendous. Yeah, I like that. That's
and
good.
It's got me into catapults as well, which is interesting because did you know that catapults are or can be more powerful than air guns?
I did, actually. I've seen some of them, those. And I also saw a post after he'd mentioned it the other week where they're beginning to nibble around at looking at legislation, to restrict catapults. But I think maybe you put a comment in somewhere or maybe you sent it to me. They're buildable at home. I built some at home from... when I was a kid, plywood, which was really I had some really strong plywood all glued together, sort of 12-layer plywood. That went pretty well. Not as good as something made out of steel. Anyway, we could form the Catapult Club. And you can have the fucking Catapult Championships, and a bit like Robin Hood. Whoosh, dong. We've got to hit a bell with a peanut from 100 yards, something like that. That'd be cool.
And have you seen the Slingshot channel? With the German bloke who speaks like this, and he said, let me show you its features. And what he doesn't know about slingshots is not worth knowing. That's for the Americans, and it's catapults over here. And he actually proved it. He had a camera showing this missile going from this catapult. But what you can do if you make your own, you can use push-bike inner tubes for the rubber to expand. Like that, you see. So there we are, a little bit of advice there. You don't have to go out and buy all the top stuff, and you can make a catapult from tree branches or anything like that. Really simple to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, I'm happy to have a go at doing these things and getting your own catapults. I've had a bit sort of an outdoor... I don't know if it was mentioned on Monday. We burnt a big fire here at the weekend because I had all these trees in the garden that I'd cut down over the... I've got a lot more to cut down, believe you me. But the ones that I had cut down, I just left in what used to be called a garden. It's really going through its desert period. I'm fine with it. I've let go of it. I can't bring it back to its former glory, so it's got to go back to base, and we're going to rebuild it from scratch. But they'd all dried out over the summer because we've had a very long, dry summer. We've had a few days of torrential rain, but it was wonderfully dry. And so we burnt an awful lot on Saturday afternoon. And all we got was flames, no smoke. which is good from my point of view because it means I won't be getting a letter from the council saying, we've had a complaint from your neighbours that smoke was going through all their lovely, delightful washing and now they all smell like a bonfire, you know. I was stood right next. It was fantastic. There's something satisfying about burning stuff, isn't it? Is it a bloke thing or is it a human thing? So we were sat around it till about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and I'm just looking at the embers, you know, and the fire's crackling down. You're looking at all that. And I'm thinking,
it's gorgeous.
It's the most fantastic thing. I don't have a fire in the house. I keep on thinking about getting one of these
Same
log
here.
burners put in. I was talking to someone about it last night. They said, well, yeah, you can do it. They said they'll try and sell you on a stainless steel sleeve to go inside the flue because I've still got a chimney stack here, but it's all been sealed up.
Really?
Yeah.
You're lucky because my house was built in the 70s and there's no chimneys. It's centrally heated, which I don't like. So I'm thinking of building a conservatory and putting a log fire in there. I'm really seriously thinking about it.
Yeah, well, our conservatory needs a new roof sometime in the next 3 years or so before it gets blown away in the next strong wind. It needs to be redone. Maybe I'll put one in there. I don't know. I just remember, you know that your priorities are changing in life, Eric, don't you? When what you get most excited about or what you're thinking about is a really comfy chair with a real fire so that you can stare into the embers late at night listening to a grandfather clock ticking. I'm serious. I mean, that's really where I'm at.
I 100% agree with you. And Richard Vobes, I think, has got to that stage. He smokes his pipe, doesn't he? And, you know, looks through his books. And I really do think there's something in that. And that what you sent me about the old designers, this bloke, you know, days when people had white coats and pencils behind their ears. Something about that as well. It had I wouldn't say dignity to it, but they really did enjoy their work. And look how creative we are. And that's another thing. Where there's governments, there's no creativity.
I'm going to send that link to the chats, actually. What Eric's referring to, I sent you a link, didn't I, a little bit earlier today. Yeah. It's a 28-minute video. It's called The Quiet Genius, the man behind the Merlin Concorde and the engine that saved Rolls-Royce. And he's called Stanley Hooker. He was born in Kent about 1906. And as soon as he wasn't actually trained as an engineer, as a mathematician, very well qualified, and then just suddenly started to become an engineer. And he's responsible for almost like all the best jet engines and everything. He was involved with... he designed the Pegasus jet engine, didn't know what to do with it. They ended up putting that in the Harrier jump jet, Sydney Cam from Hawkers. But I'll tell you what impressed me the most, Eric, in the video, was the manner of their speaking. Do you know what I'm talking about? The manner in which he spoke, right? And it's just fantastic. You're in the presence of people that can communicate simply, easily, and crystal clear. This is the thing. It's not all this... You know, our ears have been bombarded with this politically correct horseshit communication for decades. And people think that this is some sort of sign of intelligence. It's a sign of utter stupidity. And when he was getting a bit cross and recounting certain things, he goes through a list, doesn't he, at one point? There's a brilliant illustration of the completely sick nature of the way that we do things now. And he was saying that when he first got involved with all of this kind of stuff, the engineers were basically given free rein to just go crazy in the workshop. Yeah. That's why they made up all this brilliant stuff. And he said that the first thing you do is you look at the concept, then you write out all the things that you've got to do. You look at the material, what's the purpose of it? Then you look at how long it's going to take for drawings to be prepared, then the costings, then the material availability, and this, that, and the other. You know, what was the first thing? Top of the list, horsepower. How powerful is it got to be? That's right at the top of the list, right? What am I building, right? And then he goes through the whole process. And right at the end, you've got testing and accounts. And then he just reversed the whole list. He said, now we live like this. First, the accountants want to know how much is it going to cost. He said, I don't even know what you're going to bloody build yet. What? And he just goes into the whole thing. And I think you just look at this and you go, that's why it's a very, very useful video. Even if you're not into all this kind of stuff, I suppose it's a bit of a boys thing again. I've just sent the link into YouTube and I'm sending it into Rumble for those of you that you want to pick it up, even during the show if we get a bit too tedious for you. It's 29 minutes long. Hooker's just absolutely fantastic, the way he comes across. He's absolutely brilliant guy. And he was also responsible for, he saved Rolls-Royce. He retired. Rolls-Royce had this engine. I've forgotten what it was. It bankrupted the company. The company went bust.
I remember.
Yeah, Roll.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well,
the
actually,
company went bust. They called him out of retirement. They said, "You better come back," and he said he went in, and all the engineers were completely demoralised. Shorthand for this country, right? It's illustrated in a macro level. There's little 26 minutes. There's a lot more to me. I went, wow, and you've got guys. Literally, you've got guys with pipes, right? Yeah. And they all talk properly, and they get to the bloody point. And they make things happen, and they pick the phone up and they go, "We're doing this now," and it's done, and it doesn't go, "Oh, we're going to have a review that takes 6 months." It's this bureaucratic machine in the middle that is the thing that's waging war on us right now, and they've waged war on these outstanding British engineering companies. I mean, off the charts, brilliant, these guys. And
I agree with you.
They're these mavericks, aren't they? He just came out of a shed in
communism,
Kent or something. It's amazing.
That's right, but communism has to regulate everything, and that is part of communism. Well, you look at, typically example, look at East Germany under communism. What car did they produce? The Trabant. Something that loads of blue smoke coming out the back. It was horrible. And that is the peak of creativity. Then you look across the water at the United States. Look what they were producing. Look across what we were producing. The E-Type Jag, Porsche, Germany, Porsches. Things like that. And it just went off the scale. And this is the trouble. Our creativity isn't being allowed. People are not allowed to be creative anymore.
It's the commie plan.
Bureaucracy.
It is. And we're not being paranoid here. This is what happens when these bureaucracies get infiltrated with people who are more keen on their abstract ideology than they are on actually achieving something in the real world. And this is why these engineers with pipes, and I'm using them as a shorthand metaphor for this approach to life, are to be looked at and respected. They were obviously in a cultural environment that rewarded that. I'm just going, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be, is that you just pick up the phone and go, "We're doing this, shut up." Put the phone out and crack on with it. And they just did this. I mean, the jump jet is still this amazing piece of technology. Nobody ever really got on top of it. "Oh, I've designed this engine. What can we use it for?" "Oh, we'll make a vertical takeoff aeroplane." And they just,
"That's right.
"Oh, we'll do that. We'll just do it." You're just going, "Yes, please." It's that attitude, Eric, don't you think?
Right.
This can-do
attitude. I agree. And look how marvellous it was, because they used to do a manoeuvre, and in the Falklands War, when they come up against the Argentinian Air Force, they'd flip a lever, and the thing would just flip over on itself, and it'd shock the living crap out of the Argentinian pilots, because they never come up against anything like it. They could do incredible manoeuvres with this Harrier jump jet.
Yeah.
But again, no creativity, no positiveness, just bland. I mean, look at Frank Whittle. Frank Whittle, when he came up against bureaucracy, and eventually he went to America because he was so sick of this country, the way they treated him.
Yeah.
And he said when he submitted all these facts and figures about the jet engine to the ministry, the top civil servant said that wouldn't blow the skin off a rice pudding. That was his exact words.
I know.
A jet engine wouldn't blow the skin off a rice pudding. Yet the Germans had not only perfected it, they had the Messerschmitt 262. And it's because of that Whittle, they managed to give him the go-ahead to do the first Pioneer. But we were years ahead of Germany. But it wasn't allowed. It was unbelievable.
It is. I think that this is I know that my dad used to talk this way about these things. Like, you could never get anything done in this country. You know that? I mean, maybe others have similar recollections of their fathers or mothers talking in this way. "Oh my God, look at this. It's like living in a lunatic." But it's true. It never really changes. And it's to do with a certain personality type that's attracted to bureaucratic control. And of course, Hooker comes across these people. That's why he had to walk out. "I can't deal with this. I've got all these skilled guys." But when he goes back, and he said they were all demoralised, and the guy that worked with him, he said, "Look," he came back in, everybody was demoralised. He said inside 2 weeks, everybody was jumping around like firecrackers, because he just said, "You're doing this, you're doing that, get on with it. I need this by this, sort it out." And this is this organisational brilliance. I'm going to suggest it right now. I'm going to blow our organisational brilliance is off the charts when it's not interfered with. It's right. Astonishing. And, I was listening to something the other day about the Battle of Blenheim, right? Now, unfortunately, this does tap into the Churchill family. I'm terribly sorry about this, but this is before it all went rotten in the last century. John Churchill, very interesting guy, very tough guy, ended up sort of being commander. This is going to be a really mashed up, mangled version of it. But we had an alliance at the time with the Dutch. This is the early 1700s. And the big concern, both for the Dutch and for many other countries, was the union between France and Spain, which would have blown everybody else out of the water. Because Spain had an awful lot of gold, you probably know this, and France had an awful lot of sort of horsepower and land and stuff, and together they would have been really unstoppable on mainland Europe at the time. So they formed these alliances, and I'm not even going to talk about the battle. I don't even want to talk about that. What's really interesting is that Churchill deceived the Dutch. So I suppose this is maybe where his great whatever it is grandson got the same thing. But it was, you could say, the ends did justify the means, and basically the Dutch just wanted to defend Holland, understandably so. But he understood that there was this battle to be fought over in Austria. It's a bit of a way away, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, through Germany. So what he did was he lied to the Dutch. He said, look, we're just going to go down here to the south and defend this river. So they went, okay. And off they went. And then he pushed them a bit further. And after a few more days, after they clocked on what was going on, they were so far away they couldn't go back. So they had to go through with it. So that was a deception that he had to run. It all turns out brilliant in the end. However, the bit I was going to say was that he had planned, and this is this logistics thing about war or this combat situation. They'd planned the entire route with horses. They even had cobblers. He had cobblers stationed along the route at certain towns because all of the troops had to be fitted with new shoes. They were marching 25 miles a day, the highest speed an army of that time ever achieved, right? It was really fast. They were doing 25 miles a day, right, in these boots. And after 2 days in these boots, they were completely shot to bits, right? So they needed a new set of boots. He pre-planned the lot, food supplies for the horses, for everything. And it really got me thinking, I'm tapping back into the food thing that we were talking about earlier on. We actually are in a war. We're in one. There's no two ways about it. Our governments, not just in this nation, are waging war on us by, as Frederick Blackburn would say, fourth generation warfare. That's exactly what this is. In other words, there's only a few of us that are really fully seeing it for what it actually is, and most of our neighbours, like we've mentioned before, are not fully up to speed, although their senses, their hackles are going up. This is a good sign. So I'm not being completely doom and gloom about all of this. But I thought, and this is why the food thing that Mark was talking about at the Bull-Headed Farmer with you on Monday in such a constructive way is so important, because we are going to live on our stomachs. And if we don't, we won't. And so I think it's such a constructive thing for us to do. It's not an overt declaration of we're going to pick up axes and do this kind of stuff. But these people are smashing our lives up. This other side, they're smashing it to pieces. Everything that we love and cherish and that gives us kind of a motivation to be alive and to smile and to interact with people and to live a life of inquiry, they're smashing it all. And that's war. I didn't invite them to do this. I don't think you did, Eric. I don't think any of our listeners did. We didn't invite them, did we? So we're going to have to be as cunning logistically as Marlborough was, as Churchill was back in the Battle of Blenheim. I'm just using it as an analogy. You can make of it what you will, but I think we do. I think we need to start thinking logistically like engineers about how we run our lives and how to become more efficient as a people and to create that sort of esprit de corps. And I think I really do think food meetings and food dumps could be a massively important part of all that.
I agree with you. And there's a place in South Africa, I think they're called Sundlanders. I may have got that
Suidlanders,
wrong.
Suid.
Suidlanders.
Yep.
Sorry, yes, I pronounced it wrong. And they're planning for when the balloon goes up. And it's very, very wise, because we need protection against, again, to call them government, they're not government, they're the mob. We need protection against the mob. And there are another thing, I think was it Mark that said it, was it Survival Steve? There's something called the Shield, where they're like our own police force that arrive on scenes and tell the police, who don't know anything about the law, and the police generally go away with their tail between their legs. Because it takes 6 months to train these people up to literally come along, like Minutemen. You've got trouble, bailiffs, along they come and send them on their way,
I think it's all worthwhile, Eric. Yeah, I think it's almost as if the feelings and the things that we're expressing here from time to time in this show and others comparative shows, it's as if there's lots of little pockets all over the place. Okay, so be it. And maybe those of us that are in little pockets we wish we were all massive. Yeah, okay, we do. However, we probably are massive. It's just that the connections have not yet been made. And it might seem a little bit sort of wonky for me to say this, but I feel personally that when I talk to strangers and do this thing, this is part of this establishing of the human glue between us again. It needs to be reestablished. I was thinking of something really radical today, which would be impossible to pull off. But it really got me thinking about the repercussions of it. How about we have a day, I think that's the most you could ever ask for everybody. We have a day where nobody uses the internet or switches their smartphone on. Can you imagine what that would be like?
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, look what they did in New Zealand. I think it was in the 80s or 90s. They had a terror ticket day. Mm-hmm. And the government in one of the towns, they implemented parking charges just to make more money. So everybody deliberately parked where they shouldn't park.
Yeah.
And when they got their tickets, they just threw them up. And the government couldn't do anything about it because nobody paid. And this is the thing, you want unity, and so no, we're not going to do it. We're not prepared to accept it. I mean, when we're brought into this earth, had you or me or anybody listening in, did you choose to have a government over you? No, it's just imposed upon us. Did we choose to have local councils? No, it's been imposed. And we accept that they say, we've got to have a government. Have you? Have you really? No. I don't think so. It would take several generations to wear that out of our minds. But where there's government, there's bureaucracy and there's problems.
There is. I don't think it's necessarily that the idea of a council or of an organising principle is necessarily a bad thing. I think circumstances have brought it upon people. If we go back a long time, Vikings are coming, there's 50 boats, right? There's 20 men in each boat. They're going to be here in 4 hours, according to what we've got. We need to light these lanterns on the top of these hills up and down the south coast of England. And I'm in charge of this tribe. Go see Eric, go see Bob, whoever it is. You better get down there. Otherwise, your wife and your children are going to be taken. Right. Yeah, I'm all for that. So it's not the intent. It's what happens is that these things have become malignant. They run out of purpose for existing once that kind of emergency has gone away to some degree, and they've become a sort of self-perpetuating ruling system that basically much of what they rule over, they were never invited to. They've expanded their power base, like all sort of human organizations do, to justify their continued existence. Anyway, fortunately, no one should be too worried over here because we're about to pay a lot more tax to pay for all this. And I think that's a jolly good idea, Eric, because I'm certainly a very satisfied taxpayer. I think I get tremendous value for my money, and no doubt everybody else here thinks that too. It's just delightful, isn't it? It's delightful, and they should have as much money as possible to sort our problems out and carry on in the way that they have been doing. Sarcasm. Okay, so I mean that's it, and then they become so entrenched and separated culturally from us as people, as individuals. And your point that you repeatedly make and should continue to repeatedly make is well made. They are city dwellers, and it's shorthand for people that they begin to occupy an area, I think, in their own minds that is disconnected from real life. They're not actually connected to how you and I live. They don't meet real people. They don't laugh properly. They are the first sort of line of the automaton, and that's what we've ended up being governed by. It's a diseased system, literally.
They think, if you say to them, "Where does meat come from?" They say Tesco's. They wouldn't think it comes from a cow or a sheep or anything. Yeah, but no, they are dumb, and you notice that they like blandness. Now, I don't know if you saw that video I sent to you, but there's a chap said that the Victorians discovered how to do beautiful cast iron works. I mean, you look at the beautiful buildings that the Victorians built, for example, the House of Commons and things like that. And they found out how to mass produce beautiful things. How comes we've lost it now? We can do it if we want to. I mean, he showed you the lights on the embankment of the Thames, which looked like some sort of fish or something, and it's cast iron. And the Victorians were so skillful at it. We have not got that skill today. We just can't match what the Victorians did with cast iron. So why can't we do that type of thing? Cast iron is relatively cheap. You know, we could make a lot of beautiful things. There's also that pumping station. I think it's at Stratford for pumping sewage. And you go in there and it is just like, well, it's just an incredible piece of artwork. A beautiful place to have worked. And the Victorians wanted to make the world a beautiful place.
Well,
and look what's happened now.
They gave engineers their head. They allowed them to come up with creative solutions and to think outside of the envelope. The envelope now is so permanently sealed with regulations. And that's, you know, just going back to that little video about Hooker and all the engines he designed. In a nutshell, it's a lot more than about that guy's life. It's literally a metaphor for what's happened. You can just see it. I mean, it's not even about that, but I saw that in it. I saw a lot of things in that little video, which I found rather inspiring, actually. You just go, look at what can happen when intelligent men and women are put together and you go, here's the task, how are we going to fix it? And the accountant's not in charge.
Well,
and why would you need an accountant in charge? I mean, you wouldn't need one if we had a monetary system that supplied the money to where it's needed. Of course, we don't have that, and it's because the monetary system is warped. I know I always keep bending back to this, but this is one of these knock-on effects of it. Because everything is about the economy, then there isn't an economy of wealth, of actual wealth in terms of real stuff and the things that we create. There just isn't. There just isn't one. And so the actual buildings that we put up and all this stuff that, you know, we drone on about and we're going to keep droning on about, we're talking about the symptoms of this disease that's psychological. There's a psychological behavioral disorder in the governing class. And we can call it communism, for want of a better word, and currently modern liberalism. Yeah, they're ideologies. It's got nothing to do with real life anymore.
The education system is, you need an O level in this and an A level in this. No, the Victorians got it right. Mm-hmm. That is, if you wanted to be an engineer, you could have no qualifications at all. You would go on an apprenticeship to learn to be an engineer or anything you wanted to do. And if you were crap, you'd be thrown out of it within the very early stages. And it's the same with doctors and nurses. You served an apprenticeship, and if you were rubbish, you think the amount of rubbish doctors and that are in the NHS and they get away with it, whereas in a normal world people just wouldn't go to them. And it's like in the third world, lots of blokes I've worked with, contract blokes that worked in sort of places like Nigeria and all these different places, they said they never ate the food in the hotels. They always went down where the locals went and ate street food. And they said if anybody on those street vendors served dirty food and someone had a stomach upset, nobody would go to them. And he said you get on the longest queue. Yep. And that is the wisest thing to do. I don't believe in driving licenses. I don't believe you should have a driving test. If you're good enough to drive, you drive. What do you need licenses for? It's all a money-making racket. That's all it is. Money, money, money all the time. And I really do think, if you listen to G. Edward Griffin, he comes out with a lot of sense. And we are responsible adults, and we've lost our responsibility because these bloody governments, because you're leaving your part of your life to be run by a complete wazzock.
I love that word. I haven't heard that one in quite a while, Eric. That's a good one. I like wazzock. Yeah. I don't know what it means, by the way, but we know it's a bit sort of insulting. You don't want to be called one. Anyway, look, we're at the end of the first hour. We're at the end of the first hour, so it's time for a little musical interlude. We're going to have a musical interlude.
Oh, that's jolly spiffing, isn't it?
It's jolly spiffing. I'm going a bit boogie-woogie R&B on this thing. In fact, I'm going to play two. Yes. I'm going to play two tracks because they're both just a couple of minutes long. So we're going to take a little break, and we'll be with you in about 4 or 5 minutes' time. So go and get your drawing pencils out and your pipes and practice being engineers, and we'll see you in about 4 or 5 minutes' time on the other side of this couple of little tunes.
Wow.
Your teeth. I come back in the evening, you're still in bed. Got a rag tied around your head, oh baby. What you gonna do? I'm sick and tired of fooling around with you. This is my last time telling you to change your ways. I'm telling you, baby, I mean what I said. Last time I'm telling you to stop that jam. Oh, you find yourself by side, oh, baby. What you gonna do? I'm sick and tired of fooling around with you. Up in the morning, fix you something to eat. Before I go to work, I even brush your teeth. I come back in the evening, you're still in bed. Got a rag tied around your head, I'll bet. What you gonna do? I'm sick and tired of fooling around with you. Oh, baby, what you gonna do?
Oh, we're all bloody sick and tired of everything and fooling around with certain things. Anyway, there you go. A couple of boogie woogie R&B tracks. My record collection is stuffed with things like that. So I just
same with mine. similar to mine. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I like all that sort of stuff, yeah. Was that Chubby Checker, the last one?
No, that was. I used to sing that in the band that I used to play in. Actually, in fact, I last
Fats Domino?
sang. No, it's Ronnie. You won't have heard of any of these things. I've got the most obscure record collection. It's Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters. How about that? Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters. And vocals was Kim Wilson from the Fabulous Thunderbirds, was guest starring on that particular album, that musical bum, as isn't that what Benny Hill used to say?
Bum.
Roy Orbison's musical bum. It's music album. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Music album. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the station with the biggest tits.
That's steady.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, mind you,
No,
we
I
are
said-
past the waters
no,
yet,
no,
so
no.
you can go wild now. But yes,
That's Connie Everett used to say. He said, "This is the station with the biggest tits, biggest hits." HITS.
Is that-
See?
Yeah, he is. Anyway, we've been joined here in hour 2 by our good guest Eli.
Hello, Eli.
James. Eli, hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Hey,
Welcome
Eric.
to the show.
Hello.
How are
Hey.
you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I understand you Britishers don't pronounce your H's too well.
Oh, Eric doesn't. He's
Was
terrible.
it
No. We roll our R's.
handicap? And, yeah, and it's you guys just don't know how to speak English. You got to get the Chicago Manual of Style
Yes.
to pronounce everything correctly.
We
Right?
cannot speak
Like we
English
do.
correctly.
Use guys.
It's all gone very, very bad for us,
Right.
Eli.
Yeah. At least you're not as bad as Boston.
What, the Boston
They don't know
accent?
how to. Yeah, it's crazy. But
Yeah.
the one good thing about Boston is that speech that JFK made about conspiracies.
Yes.
He did that a few months before he was murdered. Okay,
Mhm.
that we do not believe in covert means of running the government, but he said covert means. Okay, it's worthy of playing in Britain because it basically tells the world why he was assassinated. Okay. And Abraham Lincoln did kind of the same thing. He said, when he freed the slaves, he said, "I'm not freeing the blacks to make white people slaves of the international bankers." But they never quote that either.
No.
So,
You know,
so how goes it? Yeah, go ahead.
It goes well. We've had a fun opening hour. We've got lots of. I'm sure we'll talk about all sorts of things. The just to head up a little question from the chat here. Etta Volk says, "What did you play? What did I just play?" Well, I'll tell you what. The second song was Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters with "Sick and Tired." Not an original. I think that's an old R&B classic from the 50s. I think it was. I can't remember who originally wrote it. The first one, what was the first one? I stumbled across the first one today on YouTube, and I just thought, oh well, and it just put me in the mood. It's called Boogie Woogie Explosion. How about that for an original title? And it's the pianist is a lady. How about that? A lady. She's very beautiful as well.
No.
I've got to let you know. She's a brilliant, and she's called. Oh, the name on it was Lady Var, all one word, Ladyva. If you look up, you'll find stuff. I think she might be Spanish, actually. And the band was a Spanish band, and it was, every now and again, a good blast of that is great. And the way you keep that music going is you play the hell out of it. You just get up there and really go for it, and it cuts across. I think it cuts across all the ages. We've got a piano in the house, and not that either of my lads can read music, but they play all the time. And last 6 months, it's boogie woogie stuff, and they're doing all this stuff. And of course, it's that left hand. You got to get that left hand going. I can't play piano for toffee, right? But if the left hand's not thumping out that rhythm, you're lost.
Oh, yeah.
She's brilliant at it. She's very good. So Lady Var,
Yeah.
Ladyva, for those of you that want to go and do a quick search and find some more stuff by her. Yeah, cool.
You mean that second song was not by Beethoven?
Apparently not. No.
Okay.
It
What was the
wasn't-
title? Was the
Boogie
title
Woo-
Black Fatigue? I've got black fatigue.
I don't think so. What have you been drinking? Have you been drinking before you came on? Have you been drinking before you came on the show? What's going on?
very stiff coffee. Very stiff coffee.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, black fatigue is the rage in America. I mean, if do you guys get YouTube? in Britain?
Yeah, we've got you. I think we've got YouTube, don't we, Eric? Do we have YouTube? Yeah, we've got YouTube.
Yes.
Just search for Black Fatigue. It's all the rage on YouTube. A lot of black people even are making Black Fatigue videos of how, can I use the N-word? how Nazis have taken over the world, right? No, that's a different subject. The Negroes are rowdy and contemptuous and smashing things and burning things down and all, and the good Negroes are tired of it. Even the good Negroes are tired of it. So are white people. So search for Black Fatigue. Some of these are hilarious.
I know what you're referring to. It has been called N fatigue as well, hasn't it? But we can't use that sort of language over here. But everybody knows.
Oh,
but
right. Okay.
Yeah, but it has. Well, we could use that language, but we want to keep on doing the show at least for another week if we can. So
yeah, right. You'll get Alison Chablode if you don't watch your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, maybe. Well, sort of. Yeah. I mean, it has got. It's unhinged. It's definitely unhinged over here. There's no two ways about it. It's a ridiculous sort of situation that we're in. Actually, there was a judge. I'm just trying to find it if I can.
Yeah.
There was where did I stick it? Here we go. Okay, so this was a recent judgment. I think it should play in a British court. I think this is only about 50 seconds long. Let me just play you this.
Okay. Went on to say that you did not want your money
Here we go.
going to immigrants who, quote, rape our kids and get priority, end quote.
This is a judge
offence
speaking.
Is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please?
Amen.
The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment.
And that's for a Facebook post. That's England, Eli.
Wow.
Just to let you know. That's for a Facebook post.
Yeah. And for cutting people to pieces, no charges filed.
No.
If it's done by an immigrant, so-called.
Yeah.
Immigrant fatigue. Oh man, Led Zeppelin. I should rework the lyrics for immigrant song. Come from the land of the ice and snow. Gotta get away from those immigrants. My God.
You've definitely been taking something before you came on here on the show. You're through the roof. It's brilliant. But yeah, well, you could rewrite the lyrics if you wanted to. But yes, I remember.
That'd be awesome.
I don't have it anywhere. You know, when you see things, you go, I should have kept a record of that. And I saw something years ago. I'm sure many listeners will have read things like this. It was like an internal memo. It's probably a commie thing, actually, from years ago, where it talks about literally reversing everything within the power centers. For example, the thing that they talked about was, with regards, of course, to courts of law, is that the victims of crime will be treated badly and the committers of crime will be treated so leniently as to basically confuse the gallery. But it's by design. It is by design.
Yeah.
And the courts that we have, I'm saying courts loosely, are all part of this process of wearing bureaucratic warfare and psychological warfare on the people of these islands. But it's not going on just here. It's everywhere. So, the idea that you could... I mean, the whole thing about hate speech and hate crime is it's a relatively recently coined phrase. There's... and for the avoidance of all doubt, hate is defined in my dictionary. I use several, but I'm quoting Chambers, I've got a great Chambers dictionary. Hate is an aversion to or intense dislike of. That's what hate is. Mm-hmm. An aversion to, i.e. you want to avoid it, you don't want to be around it, or an intense dislike of. That's what hate is.
Yeah,
therefore, I'm not aware of any human being that's alive now or that has ever lived that didn't hate. I'm simply
Even
not aware
Jesus
of one.
Christ hated.
Of course.
He hated Pharisees. He hated Pharisees.
He did.
He hated banksters, money changers.
He did.
He absolutely hated them.
Yes,
Yeah.
he didn't. He didn't love everyone. I was saying to Eric in the first hour before you were here, Eli, that I had a little anecdote to tell, and it taps into the comment you've just said. Everybody's getting worried now.
Right.
The other day I was out walking on the seafront. It's every day I'm on the seafront, and I'm walking along. We've got these lovely, Eric would know them very well, these cast iron, old Victorian sort of seating areas on the front of the sea. They're lovely, actually, and they shield you from the wind, and it's pretty windy down here at times.
Okay.
And you can sit comfortably in these things. And I'm walking along, and I see some Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay.
Oh.
So I think,
Okay.
I just think I'm going to have a chat. I just thought I'd have a chat. Right?
Oh,
I'm
okay.
completely open to talking.
Did they row up on the shore? Did they row up
No.
on the shore, or they walk by?
No,
okay.
they were.
I thought
sat
they were
down.
only in America.
No. We've got them all over the
Okay.
place here. They're everywhere. There's 9.5 million of them in the world. I learned from my little
Really?
exchange.
Oh.
Yeah, 9.5 million.
Okay.
And there were two ladies. They often are ladies. Certainly the ones that are out on the streets. I've had many of them knock at my doors, and I'm sure many people here in the UK are familiar with this. The knock on the door from the Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
And I always treat them well. I don't really mind. I'm always interested to know quite where their thinking lies.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's all right.
we ended up talking for about an hour, or I did anyway. And they were very nice. They were very nice because they gave me a mint. And Gwen, who was one of the ladies, she said, "Would you like a mint?" I said, "I'd love a mint." It was great. So we had a mint bonding process, which was really good. But
there you go.
It was. I wasn't trying to sort of confront them over things. Obviously, I disagree with much of what their analysis is. Let's put it that way, of what Scripture says and what it's really driving at. But I wanted to hear it from them, and also to try and throw a few little question marks into their thinking. I wasn't particularly successful at doing that. I mean, I quite enjoyed my little stay with them. And the reason I wasn't successful is, or the thought I had at the time was, I'm talking to really decent people. They really work good. Right. Their hearts are absolutely in the right place. They want to work toward a better world. I can't knock any of that. I'm thinking this is better than sitting around doing nothing at all, even though I think they're off beam with some regards. But they were definitely glass full people. There was no room in my communication for them to even consider, really. I mean, they were very polite, but I could see that I wasn't actually leaving them with that funny look on the face, which I'm looking for. The bit where they go, "Oh, I'd never thought of it in that way before." Yeah.
I've got a suggestion for you. The next time the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on your door, or they come by your what do we call that? It's like the bus stop.
Yeah, they're
on the seashore. That shelter, that bus stop shelter. There's a word for that. Anyway, have a copy of Nord Davis's article where he actually tells a story. He was confronted by two Jehovah's Witnesses, or they might have been LDS. I'm not sure which. And he starts explaining the meaning of the word contract.
Well, Eli, that's exactly my pitch. That was exactly my pitch.
Okay.
I didn't mention Nord Davis. It's interesting that you bring up. So for those of you that don't know what Eli's just referred to, there's a document out there called Star Wars by Nord Davis Jr. And I think he chose it because it was written in the 80s, and of course Star Wars was a big cultural event at the time. Right. But it actually does mean something, because it's the war between the six-pointed star, which is the bad guys, the Empire, the evil Empire, and the five-pointed star.
There you go.
The five-pointed star, which has got to be the right way up, by the way, not an inverted five-pointed star, because that's another satanic. Anyway, we're getting onto the I don't want to get into all the symbolism stuff, but the anecdote you're talking about is that it's wonderful, the opening part of Star Wars, isn't it? It's really tremendous.
First
Eric,
chapter,
by the way,
yes.
If you don't have a copy, Eric, I'll send one to you. It's one of the best introductions to this sort of way of looking at these documents that you'll come
Christian
across.
identity.
It's very accessible, and it's laid out in terms for normal people. And he's basic. What did he say? He's in this street somewhere, and there are two guys.
But even Jehovah's Witnesses can understand it. Yes.
And these two guys who've just spent 5 years in a seminary studying everything and have just qualified want to talk to him about Scripture. So he goes along. He plays kind of dumb, and he's listening to them and everything. And they say a few things, and he starts to ask a few questions. I won't go into the whole thing. It has to be read. But the questions that he starts to put to them begin to put a little puzzle on their face. And he said, do you want to carry on the conversation? They say, yeah. He said, well, we'll go into a cafe and we'll have a coffee. But as he's walking over to the coffee shop, he leans in to the glove compartment of his car and he pulls his Bible out, which is covered in Post-it notes and stick-its and absolutely littered with notes, like it's crammed as a study Bible.
Yes.
And then he sits down and talks to them. And this is... So he talks to them about contracts, and I've mentioned this here before. It's interesting, Eli, that you mention it, because also I was on with Ria this Sunday, just gone, not knowing quite what I was going to talk about before I went on. But the last half an hour, I wanted to talk about this. I think it's a point that's worth mentioning. And what I was saying to nice ladies yesterday, I said, I listened to what they'd said about this, and they were talking about, the kingdom's going to come and all this kind of stuff. And I know that this can be toe curling stuff. If you're listening to it and your toes are curling, I know exactly what you're going through, right? Because you feel as though you're in front of people that have got such a rosy picture that it can't be right. And it isn't right, by the way. It's not that I'm against the rosiness. It's just such a small part of it that I believe that they have amplified to push everything else out. It's the strong meat for men that I'm interested in. And so I said to them, look, can you give me a few minutes to just say a few things? They said, sure. They were really good. In fact, Sheila, the main talker, she was a lovely lady. She'd actually been to, she'd studied in Leeds, which is my hometown. She'd studied at Leeds University. She'd be probably about 10 years older than me. Really nice, great communicator, excellent, very good listener. I really enjoyed her company. And she'd been a spiritualist, like a medium, when she was younger. And then she realized when she was about 18 or 19, she was going absolutely down the wrong path, as she was telling me. And she moved towards looking at scripture and found her home. I said, well, that's fantastic, whether... I'm sure we disagree on lots of other points. But I went into this thing, I said, look, this word testament, I said I think it's immensely important. I said, I view it as one of the primary context-setting words for the whole thing. And most people, I'm going to suggest to you, that come across this word, testament, don't understand what it means. And therefore, to paraphrase Henry Ford, or what Henry Ford says, most Christians read their Bible through Jewish spectacles and therefore read it wrong. And
that's correct,
because they don't understand that it's a contract. So we go into the whole of the contract thing, and I'm going through the pitch and I'm saying, look, contracts are exclusive, right? I said, if you and I have a contract for me to mow your lawn, this is the one I always use, I said, it's only you and me. Right. I said, I said, Gwen here, the lady that gave me the mint, I said, she wouldn't be included, would she? She says, no. I said, okay, it's just you and me, right? So contracts inherently mean that if you're not on it, you're not in it. I said, and so I'm going to suggest, so...
And you don't have anything to do with it.
you don't have anything to do with it. I know. I said, right now, in this town, there could be the reading of a will, for example, okay, which is a contract. I said, now you and I could go down there and hang around out the back and say, we're on that. We could try and pretend. I said, but we're not on it, are we? No. I said, and this is very, very important. It's only going to apply to whoever's names are on that stuff. And they got this bit. Of course, they get confused because they think it means the Jews. And I said, I understand why you think that. I said, I'm going to suggest to you that that's a mistaken understanding as well. No. And because my language is very soft, I'm very soft. I'm not going in there. There's no point. There's literally no point.
That's very un-American of you.
It is. Well, I'm English.
You have to be loud and raucous.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Okay.
We're
You're doing
diffident,
fine.
aren't we, Eric? Eric, we're diffident and calm, aren't we, Eric?
We're very different. Yes, that's right. Because, but did I ever tell you? I went to a séance once.
Yes.
And the woman running it, she started laughing, so I hit her because I always like to strike a happy medium. Sorry.
Yeah, you actually pronounced your H that time. You didn't say I hit her. You hit her. I noticed Paul pronounces his H's too. A half hour, not a half hour.
Have you ever invited
I can do H-less talk. I can go along with Eric. Yeah, half an hour. And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
But,
half an hour. But nobody says hour, do they? They say hour.
No.
Half an hour. Yeah.
What was that?
Everybody says
What was that British comedy? I mean, the Sunday Funnies. It was Andy Capp. Have I got the right
Andy
one?
Capp.
Andy Capp, Danny Murray, yeah.
Yeah. He never pronounces H's, right?
No.
Never. Because it's Cockney accent.
Yep.
Right. There you go.
That's
Cockney
right.
Accent. Anyway,
And,
that's off the subject.
Have you
Okay.
have you ever invited Jehovah's Witness in? Because if you do, they go silent, and you say, "Well, why are you gone silent?" They usually say, "Well, we haven't got this far before." So sorry.
Well, I did. I mentioned it was very good.
You're not gonna hit me, are you?
No, I mean, I think, Eric, if you'd been there or anybody had been just sat doing it, it was a lot of fun. It was a really, it was a very warm communication, because there's literally, all I was trying to point out, I said, look, Christ did not come back for everyone. And I started talking about certain incidents from it. I think it's so important, this. It's the most important part of it, because obviously their approach is, they said, and this is when they said, well, there's 9.5 million of us worldwide. I said, okay. And whenever we meet, we all get on because of this shared understanding. I said, that's absolutely fine. I said, but in my view, I said, that's not what this document's about. I'm sorry. And they were great.
Yeah,
they didn't
right.
react badly. They said they quite liked it that I didn't agree with them on a lot of what they said, because of the way I was trying to handle it. I said, I don't think that's true, but you tell me what you think.
You're such a gentleman. That's why.
I've got to find a way, Eli. There's got to be a way. That's it. I think that there's a challenge.
There's got to be a way.
You've got to suss people out and go, what is this sort of person? So these were sensitive, sweet ladies of a particular age, very sincere of heart, and you couldn't help but like them. These are people who help their neighbours and do stuff. I'm going, these are the sorts of people I want to live with. But all I'm saying is, I think that some of the things you're saying and what you've been taught are not correct. But it's not just an opinion. I want to tell you why I think they're incorrect. Okay, and so just going through certain aspects of it, that didn't really go down that well. They didn't react badly, but I could see it didn't make any dint whatsoever. Yeah. You know, everybody's included. They're all this, that, and the other, and they were saying, the whole Earth's going to be destroyed. There'll only be a few people left, and that's going to restore everything. I said, well, I understand that too.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wait a minute. The Bible says only 144,000 get into the kingdom. Mm-hmm. So if there's 9.5 million Jehovah's Witnesses, what happens to all the rest?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't bring that up, but I wish you'd been there. You could have acted as the accountant in the communication.
Oh,
boy.
That
would have been fun.
Yeah, you would have been a nice cop. I would have been the bad cop. Yeah. We would have had real fun. No, ladies, you're not going to get away that easy. Put the cuffs on them.
Do you remember that line in the what was that now? Dire Straits LP, which says, two men say they're Jesus. One of them must be wrong. Do you remember that?
Yeah, right.
Dire Straits. What was it now? Yeah, two men say they're Jesus. One of them must be wrong. And the trouble with, I find, the Jehovah's Witness is that I don't want to sound rude to them, but it is a cult, because they don't open their brains to believe it. And I find it a bit creepy, actually. They're the nicest people you could ever wish to meet, but I find it extremely creepy.
Me too. I know exactly what you mean. There's that sense. I'm completely aware of it. I'm totally aware of that, Eric. And I know you are too, as it's going on. But I'm thinking, what's the point? What's the point of me remonstrating with them? It would have achieved nothing. I mean, I've actually warned them out on the doorstep. I've warned them out on the doorstep. I've had them knock on the door, and they go, "Have you seen this bit in the Bible?" And they open it up, and I go, "Which Bible are you reading?" I said, "I've got 8 in the house. Which one do you want me to go get?" They've got 8. I'm going, "Yes." Why have you got 8? And she asked me this as well. I said, because they're all slightly wonky. They're all slightly
because
wonky.
7 of them are wrong.
Yeah, that's right. I said, they're wonky. I said, you've got to, I said, this is a challenge, right? It's been interfered with as a text for at least 2,000 years and possibly longer than that. And so the challenge to all of us is it possible to read it and understand what it specifically is saying? And it does operate. Right. It does operate on several levels. It operates on the pragmatic level. And all I was trying to get across, and I said, look, This is a book of law. And someone's just asked me, said, Paul didn't finish the bit about the Testament. So let me just, made in Cornwall. So let me just sort of address that. So Testament comes from this Greek word diatheke. And a diatheke, and you can go and check a book called Strong's Concordance. We've gone all very learned here right now, but this is appropriate. We'll tell you that a diatheke is a contract. That's what it is. It's a contract. Mm-hmm. Okay. And as Nord Davis expresses
it's okay.
Well, it is. As Nord Davis expresses it, he said a contract, which is a great way to do it, is a formal agreement between two or more parties to do and or refrain from doing whatever is itemized and detailed in the terms of the contract. And when you think about your life, you are forming informal contracts all the time. I'll see you at the so-and-so at 3:00. Oh, it's like a trust, right? They're similar sorts of things. Right. It's an agreement where you say, I'm going to be honourable. I said I'd meet you at 3:00. You're 5 minutes late. I'm sorry. And we forgive one another. Nobody writes it all down.
You make a date. You make a date with a nice lady.
Yeah.
And then you don't show up.
That's right.
And she gets mad.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you not show up, you so-and-so?
I don't make any dates with ladies, Eli, these days. Those days are long gone. But
neither do I.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear it. And it's
it saves me a lot of time.
Good. I'm pleased about that.
Yeah.
I was trying to make this. I did make this point with them. So that it's very, very simple sort of proposition, but the implications are considerable. As Nord Davis expresses, they are enormous. The implications of this word, because churches, organized religions, may have talked like this about it in the early days. I don't fully know. All I know is for the last few hundred years, the whole thing has gone completely out of whack. Now, they were really interesting when we were talking about the structures of organized priesthoods. We were pretty much in alignment with all of this kind of stuff. I mean, I just wanted to know really where their thinking was. And I said, look, the main problem as I see, or one of them, there's loads, one of them is that, priesthoods that organize a religion around this document, which is really what's happened. I said, first of all, it seems to me that they're ignoring what Christ instructed, which is he didn't leave any instructions for an organized priesthood, not that I can find. He just basically, I said, what we're doing here, the three of us talking, is exactly what the instructions he left for us to do. Isn't that right? These are the terms of the contract, that you meet and you talk. You have an ecclesia, it's a big word, to basically get together.
Right.
It's what this radio show is right now at this moment in time, because we're specifically addressing this stuff. And, they said, they understood everything about priesthoods going wonky and all that kind of stuff. And I said, it's not that they start off with bad intentions. It's just that if we look at all human organizations, just like we were talking about the bureaucracy over here, you start off, there's an actual need for it. But as the thing matures, it becomes a servant to its own self. It becomes its own self-fulfilling prophecy. It goes, we must maintain this structure. Going, but you're not actually teaching the truth anymore. You're just keeping the structure going. I think, the decay sets in, and it seems to be... I said there's over 2,000 varieties of Christianity, supposedly. I said, what does that mean? I said, it just sounds bonkers to me, and it was good. There was a contract at Mount Sinai in the Old Testament between Yahweh and the 12 tribes of Israel. Mm-hmm. And they said, we will obey your law. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So why haven't we? Right? Jehovah's Witnesses, do they obey his law? Technically, most Jehovah, if they're white, they would be a party to the contract, but even they don't obey his law.
Yep.
Okay, that was the first contract, right, at Mount Sinai.
Well,
and it's never conveyed that way to Christians. Never.
No.
Okay.
No, and of course they did bring up that little phrase, the human race. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, what? They said, the human race. I said, I don't know what that means. And so they told me, I said, there's no such thing. I said, it's a contradiction. You can't have that. There's no such thing. Racist. I said, I don't know what you people talk about with race. I said, in sort of layman's terms, I look out into the world and I see that they exist. And they go, yeah. I said, so they're different, right? Yeah. And then they said, but we're all the same because we've all studied this stuff. I said, hey, hang on just a minute.
So then the next question is, so why are all these non-whites from other countries slashing Brits up into pieces?
I didn't go into that. That would have made them cry. I didn't want to make them cry. It would have looked bad. Even though I'm not a young man, I'm considerably younger than both of them, and it would look like I was sort of verbally berating them in the public. I didn't want to. I mean, I could go, but they were not the audience to talk to in that way. I didn't want to do that. It didn't seem appropriate, right? I mean, I just have to be. You're looking at the people you got in front of you, going, "How far can I go with this right now in this conversation?" But it's useful. I mean, I suppose I'm using it to sort of sharpen up the way that I talk to different people about this. I think it's a very important issue. It was interesting as well. On Sunday, when I did the bit with Rhea, Rhea's guest in the second hour is Katie Daly. And shout out to Katie if she's hearing this. And anyway, she does a great little... And she'd been talking about certain things. And she sent me a comment anyway afterwards saying that she really started to look at this now in terms of it being the law. And I said, this is fantastic. This is really good. Because she's just seeking, and this is all you can do. You have to keep on inquiring about these things. But I use that phrase again. I said, this is the strong meat for men. It's not milk for babes. And it's really true. Yeah. To really get down to it, that there are laws, and, they use God's name. So they call him Jehovah. Right. And I said, well, Yahweh. Right. And they went, well, Jehovah. I said, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm reasonably sure, right, that,
there was no J until the 16th century.
I mentioned that too. But I might as well have been talking to a
wall. To a spiritual wall. Yeah. Well, here, I had a similar experience with, when I was coming back from Vietnam, I had a job at a hardware store. And one of the employees behind the counter was a black guy who was a Jehovah's Witnesses. And we would talk Bible every so often, not a whole lot. It's hard to talk about the Bible when you're working at a hardware store. Yep. But he was the most perfect gentleman I ever met, even more so than most of the white people I know, okay? And he was very kind, considerate. But I think Eric is right. There's an attitude... is it smugness? Would smugness be the correct word?
It's close to it.
Yes, I'd say so.
Okay.
Yes, very sort of, well, it's self-righteous. They won't listen.
Yeah, self-righteous.
They're not really interested in anything that you say.
They're already believing. Yeah, they know everything, in other words.
That's right. They know it. That's it. They don't want to know. And... I mean, I was going to give one a football, but I thought I better not, because it's in the right place, But, they're sort of just not interested in...
Right, anything but Jehovah's... Yeah, they're in a world of their own. They're in a world of their own. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not such a bad world in comparison to everybody else. But you're right, Eric. This... I mean, I guess all of us have behaved that way when we were younger. I know this. I'm right. I'm not listening to you. You don't know what you're talking about, right? And it's not a sign of intelligence, really. You think it is when you're younger, but it isn't. And I was, one of the things I bang on about here, and I talk to my lads about, is that really, in terms of people's attitude towards everything, you really need to keep, figuratively speaking, the question mark in the front of your head at all times. There's no point pretending that everywhere. You just go, hang on, just a minute. Can I ask a question about this? And if you ask it in a civilized way,
nice way,
you've got a better chance of actually maybe doing things. But I agree with you. What you've described is pretty much the sort of, they were better than most. They were better than the guys that have knocked on my door. They at least appeared to be listening to what I was saying, which of course kept me happy, I suppose, even though I thought sneakily they might not be. They were just handling me. That's okay too, right? You don't know. The people I'd never bumped into in my life. We're just talking spontaneously. And I valued that, to be quite honest. And they said to me, we don't meet many people that ask questions. I said, well, that's sad, isn't it, really? Right. I said, look at all these people. I said, they've been given life. It's an amazing thing. We're in a lot of trouble in this country, and not enough people are questioning it. I said, and this is the most important thing. Even if the answers that they get to their questions are incorrect on day one, don't stop. That's the key thing. Keep doing it, because that willingness to participate is key. It inspires others around you, I think. I think it's a very important thing.
I think it's a form of immaturity, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to chime in.
No.
I think it's a form of immaturity in a way, because when we were very young, everything our parents said was correct. So if anybody says anything that's contrary to what your parents said, they were incorrect your parents are correct. And then you get a bit stroppy when you get to your teenage years and think, well, hang on, they're not also correct and everything. And that is part.
My parents aren't right about anything.
That's right, because a young child, that's right, can only see. That's right, and I mean, a young child can only see what's directly in front of them because they have no wisdom. And that's why if there's a child that is overweight or has got a slight temperamental illness or anything like that, they will go for that child like bees in a beehive or wasps in a wasp nest. Now, I actually believe that these Jehovah's Witnesses and cults like that, they are looking for a parental figure. And they're looking for a substitute mother and father to lead them through their lives. And I mean this, I know this sounds a bit rude,
sounds
but
great.
I think partly their mind has not matured. I think in many ways it hasn't matured enough because
when Paul, when you started talking about these two old ladies, I immediately flashed on Arsenic and Old Lace. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yes.
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Brilliant movie. Yeah.
Where the two old ladies, are so sympathetic. They invite these lonely old men who are just very unhappy, right, into their confines, and they say, "Oh, he's so unhappy. Should we get him into the kingdom and feed him some arsenic with the wine?" Right? It's so arsenic and Old Lace. So, but they determine these men are so lonely that they're ready to go to heaven, and so they
help them
grease the skid, so to speak, and help them, right? And the two women who played the two old ladies were so absolutely fantastic. We're so happy that he's going to heaven tonight. And they have all these bodies buried in the basement, like who was the guy in Chicago? He was a clown. He dressed up as a clown and murdered little boys, right? And he buried them in the basement. Okay. But at least those two old ladies did it with a smile on their face, and they thought they were doing the right thing.
Are you've sparked? Are you suggesting, Eli, that because I've been feeling slightly under the weather today, that they loaded the mint that they gave me? Maybe they gave me a loaded mint.
You are a bit gabby today.
Dear
I'm
me.
sorry.
That was the first thing that crossed my mind.
They loaded the mint and they've destroyed me. Oh no! Never take mints, everybody, from old ladies on street corners. I've learned my lesson.
Go.
I hope I've got a chance to learn it, and they haven't done me in with the mint. Yeah,
especially if they're oozing with arsenic.
Well, I didn't ask them that. It seemed impolite. It'd be rude.
Yeah, right.
You're not poisoning me.
There
It
you
seemed
go.
like the right thing to say, Eli, at the time.
Yeah, but it brings up a major question about Christianity and virtually all religions, actually. How do you overcome your indoctrination and come to the truth? That's really what the Bible is all about, overcoming indoctrination. That's what Eve, she was indoctrinated by Nakash, and he said to her, "You shall not surely die." Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. And she believed it, right? And she took the poison. That's what that poison apple is all about. And virtually all of the, certainly the German, stories, Hansel and Gretel and all those, they're parables about the Bible. Don't fool around with these witches, right?
Yeah.
Don't get caught off guard. Don't get caught off guard. You have to know the law and act accordingly, right? So, here, if there's a Westminster Confession, if you run into these ladies again, by the way, maybe offer them some real mint, okay? From a German chocolatier.
Yes.
And offer them paragraph 9 of the Westminster Confession, which is very, very succinct. And it says, the only way you can tell whether a particular verse, whatever Bible they use, is authentic, is if there's a problem, you have to consult the original Hebrew and the original Greek. Translations are always problematic. Okay, so if you can suggest to them that, well, your version of this verse is incorrect, and then quote them the Westminster Confession and tell them, okay, well, here's the Greek word, here's the Hebrew word, here's what these words mean. This verse has been incorrectly translated. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll get it. Well, for a perfect example is Apolumi. Very, very famous verse. I come not but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay, Eric and Paul, all you guys, how would you react to the word lost? What do you think the word lost means in that verse? And I know you know, Paul, maybe Eric and
yeah,
Paul.
I do know. So I won't spoil your party. It'd be wrong.
Lost.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Sorry, do you mean LOST or LUST?
Well, your mind is on. Well, never mind. Big hits.
Big hits. Yes. Well, there's a lust for glory. There was a film.
No. LOST. LOST.
Lost. That's where I am most of the. Lost.
Yeah, right.
That's where I am most of the time, actually.
Right.
So we're all lost in many ways.
That's right. That's right. Most of the time. Okay. So lost, like the lost and found, right?
Yep.
Something got lost and I'm looking for it. Okay. Paul, the American Paul. What's your first impression of the word lost in that verse? What do you think it means?
Left behind.
Okay, well, yeah, you could get lost by being left behind. Yeah, no doubt. Left behind. Yeah, that's what happens to the people who get saved. They're the ones who are left behind, not the ones who get taken up into outer space. Okay, so that brings up the rapture. But the word lost is Greek for exiled, to be put away in punishment.
Uh-huh.
It means nothing like what the average person actually, yeah. So it's only a reference to the Israelites because only the Israelites were put away in punishment. So there's your covenant contract. They broke the contract, so they got exiled for breaking the contract.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So once you learn what these words mean, then you get understanding. But the way the Christianity works in the world today, you can't get understanding because you don't know what the words mean. They've been horribly translated. Translated. And, like the passage where Nicodemus confronts Jesus and he says, did you say you have to be born again? Born again. No. I didn't say born again. You misunderstood me. I said born from above. You have to be born from above. I didn't say born again. Yet invariably the churches teach born again instead of born from above. Okay? It was a misunderstanding and now it's a deliberate mistranslation. So there's nuances that you get through into the New Testament is full of these mistranslations, deliberate mistranslations. And unless you know what the true translation is, it's hard to explain it to anybody. Okay, and that's deliberate. Okay, that's the way the Bible has been translated by the King James people and Jews, and because the Jews have their own version of the New Testament, which is just as bad as the King James. So you really have to have a concordance by your bedside, right?
Have you got one, Eric?
Great.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you use the word concordance, right? It's a big word, and it's a barrier to learning. It just is. I suspect that's what's going on with people going, oh, I've got to study this stuff. Well, it's worth it once you've got once something's bitten you in terms of a field of inquiry. I mean, we inquire into everything else, do we not? We certainly do here. But all of them tap into this sort of first field of inquiry. And of course, what you're saying, Eli, is absolutely true because so many factions of so-called Christianity have been built off of one or two words being completely misunderstood, and an entire sort of new worldview is created on the basis of that. So when you talk about born-again Christians, I'm imagining everybody's toes just curled up, as they rightly should. It's a worry.
Yeah.
You feel as though you're dealing with an insincere
shriveled
individual.
up too.
Yeah, someone who's gone completely sort of right up to the point of understanding it and then just veered off like a maniac and gone into some sort of, what are you talking about? And it's worrying.
Yeah.
It is, because people get infused with all this energy. Like they say they're talking in tongues and all this other weirds, and you're going, will you just calm down? I often say to people, look, this is a book of law. No. It's an engineering document, actually. It's really what it is.
It's okay.
It's about how you behave, but you've misread it. So I understand why you're behaving like a nut job, but I can't be around this stuff. Yeah. I mean,
there has to be a new word. There has to be a new word to describe what we're talking about. Like in these two old ladies, the two old ladies from Arsenic and Olays, they have a tremendously. They're good people. They're happy people, but yet they're deluded, and it's a kind of delirium in which they're so happy that they never will understand that they're making serious mistakes, right? So it's like they're in an asylum, a mental asylum that they can't break out of because the mental walls are gripped so tight that their toes curl up.
Well, when you think about,
and they don't know that.
Sorry, I'm just choking to death here on a mint.
Bless you.
I shouldn't have taken all those mints from them.
Exactly.
No. If you think about, people's attendance in congregations and things, they're very comforting. I'm looking at it from a positive.
Yes.
I know that people go there for the company, the fellowship of other people. They're very comforting. And if the group agreement is along these mistaken lines that we're addressing, it doesn't matter what variation of it is, people get absorbed into that mistake and just take it on board and don't question it, because the spaces should really be a space of questioning and allowing everybody to talk. This is why I've always got a problem with priests. I go, look, I don't want you to do all the talking. Can I do a bit? Can I ask you some questions? Because I'm absolutely stuck on this bit. And it's that lack of real, just genuine group talk. At least we're getting it going here. Good questions coming, actually, by the way. Or an interesting one, Eli, which I'm going to send to you on the chat. This is from Alice Gorgeous. Hi, Alice. She says, does the Old Testament tell us to do away with non-believers? Does it tell us to do away with non-believers? At all. No.
No, that's Islam. And Judaism.
It is a bit. It is, yes. It
is.
It is.
No. But, the Catholic Church went across the world slicing up Amerindians until they behaved themselves, right? That's called conversion by the sword. That is not promoted by the Bible, nor did Jesus Christ ever. Well, but however, when we're attacked, we have to defend ourselves. Otherwise, our movement is destroyed. Our race can be destroyed. Just like King Alfred the Great said to those pesky Vikings, all right, if you guys don't straighten up, we'll just cut you to pieces. And the Vikings said, oh, really? Oh, and they converted. Okay,
they did.
So they lived among the English.
I forgot. I don't know the name of the final battle, but I mean, this must have been quite amazing. So he defeats them. They're captured.
Yeah,
and then he invites them. He doesn't then torture them or treat them badly or anything. He says, stop, we've won, we don't need to carry
breakfast.
On.
He treated them to a pancake breakfast with syrup.
He did.
And apples.
And he invited them in, and they thought, this is such a... no, because it taps into what we now call chivalry, and which is a part of honor. All of these things, these are qualities that are an inherent part of the good aspects of scriptural knowledge, as it were. But they're all born out of this. They're born out of this. But when people, of course, are clueless about what the law is, and they end up breaking it through ignorance or having ignored it, So.
Let me just qualify, the question, because there's so many Judeo-Christians and regular Christians who don't understand the Old Testament. When Yahweh sent the Israelites in to destroy the Canaanites, those were a very specific people because they were the progeny of Cain. Mm-hmm. And in the Old Testament, Abel's blood cries out from the grave for vengeance for Cain's murder of Abel, right? And so then there's a prophecy of Genesis 3:15, which says, I declare enmity between these two bloodlines until I return and straighten this mess out, okay? And so the Canaanites were offspring of the fallen angels in Genesis chapter 6, vis-a-vis all the giants that were living in Canaan land. And they were such an awful, evil people that they were deemed by Yahweh to be irredeemable.
Yep.
Irredeemable. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Paul confirms this in the New Testament, where he says these Edomites are vessels fit for destruction. Okay. But we're only talking about one particular group of people, from Cain down through the Canaanites, down through the Edomites, which we today know as Jews.
Well, certainly
we're still defending ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we might lose all our channels tonight, Eli, but don't worry about it. It's fine. I think. I mentioned this when I was talking to these people who were trying to poison me. Let's call them that now. When I was speaking to arsenic and old lace the other day,
poison apple.
Yeah, well, I brought this up. I did bring this aspect up. I said, look, obviously it's pretty heavy, the Old Testament. And I've had this from people that go, oh, it's a terrible book. I'm going, what do you mean? Well, it's just all that death and brutality. I said, yeah, it is. It's rough. One of the things that they did, I said, when we were talking about the times that we live in right now, and I've mentioned this here before, not that I know whether anybody's necessarily gone off and read it, but the book of Jeremiah is pretty heavy. It's as heavy as these times. It's absolutely... Yes. It's very, very bad. I think we had an exchange, didn't we, Eric, a few weeks ago, where we were talking about a phrase. My dad used to use it. Oh, he's like an old Jeremiah, which meant someone that kept banging on and banging on and banging on. And that really is the story.
Boring the hell out of people.
Driving them crazy, going on and on like we do. Hang on, I've got to pin you down. And, you know, like those guys that you meet at parties that won't let you go because they want to tell you about their new curtains and things. And you just go, oh, my God, I've got to get away from this. So it is I don't know if you have it in the States, but it's a common phrase over here that I grew up with from the lips of my dad and my uncles. They would, if someone was really banging on and boring everybody to tears, they'd call, he's like an old Jeremiah, just banging on about things all day long. You had that, didn't you, Eric?
Yeah.
Yes, we had that, yes. And was it a Joe's Comforter? That was another one. Always a right Joe's Comforter. It's like the bloke who's dying in bed, and they said, look, whatever you do, don't mention anything about death. He's very close to it. So as he walks in, accidentally bashes his head on the top of the door head. He goes, bloody hell, he said, they're not going to get a coffin out of this place. Oh, sorry. That is a Joe's Comforter,
Right.
But I have a question.
Can I have that drink in a coffin, please?
Paul, just hold that question for a second because we'll bring you in after the song. We're coming up to the end of our time slot here on WBN. We're at 57 minutes, but I'm just going to wind up now because I've got a little song to play in the interim, which sort of taps into some of the things you've been talking about, Eli, as well.
And I'd also, Paul, I'd like to answer the question that you sent me in the chat on Teams. Because I think it's very important for the lady. Okay, all right.
Okay, but maybe not on air. Let's just whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so because she's not. I think she probably wanted to talk to you directly, but anyway, you've been listening to Paul English Live here on WBN for the last couple of hours. We hope, we trust, we believe. We'll be back again at the same time here on WBN next week, 3 p.m. US Eastern, 8 p.m. in the UK. We're going to carry on with the show over on Rumble and YouTube and a few other stations. You can find all the links to the continued show over at paulenglishllive.com. So if you want to carry on listening, please come over and join us. Lots of activity going on in the chat room. I'm going to play a song here from Catherine Ashcroft and Maurice Dickinson called In Your Blood. How about that? This is one of these Gaelic sort of things with a bit of chanting from a live audience as well. So it runs for about 4 minutes. We'll join you after this one. Thanks for listening on WBN, and for everybody else, the show goes on. We'll see you in a few minutes' time.
Sound of the Do you like the roar of a river in full flood? Do you like the feeling of the wind on your back? Is it in your blood? In your blood? In your blood? Yes, in your blood. Do you like the sound of the strings as they ring? Do you like the feeling of the talking drum? And don't you love the pipes as they call through the air? Are they in your blood? In your blood? In your blood? In your blood? The silver of the moon, she holds me. The sound of the sea, she calls me. The voices of the wind, they do warn me that they're in my blood. Yes, in my blood. In my blood, yes, in my blood. You know you want to. The sight of a bird on the wing. Isn't it amazing the sense of freedom that she brings? And I would love to fly with her if I only had the wings. She's in my blood, yes, in my blood. In my blood, yes, in my blood. One time, Catherine. In your blood, it's in your blood. 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 We hope you've had a good time. We'd like to say good night. On the pipes, Catherine Ashcroft.
On the pipes, Catherine Ashcroft. That was In Your Blood by Catherine Ashcroft and Maurice Dickinson. And I love that stuff. Anyway, so there you go.
Oh, a good time.
I think they did have a good time. I hope you're all singing along.
Okay.
The Julian pipes.
You mean that,
just epic.
You mean that wasn't Jethro Tull?
It wasn't Jethro Tull.
Anderson?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't. Absolutely
right.
No.
Oh,
Ian Anderson, as he's commonly known, isn't it? Jethro Tull. That's his real name, isn't it?
Yeah, amen. Yes. Why aren't there any Jews named Jethro?
I don't know.
I don't know. Why?
Because they're not Israelites. Okay, I had to slip that
Actually, Eli, I just want to, before I just bring Paul in, because I know he's got a question. He was just about to say something. Just to promote your show, that track was called In Your Blood, and your show, your main show, your flagship show is Bloodlines, which runs every Sunday at, what is it, 3 p.m. in the UK, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. So we
Right.
can, although we're going to go slightly out of whack when the clocks change in a little while, but you'll still be going at that time. But
right.
it's okay, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want to catch more of Eli every week, he's on Radio Soapbox. And Eurofolk Radio and elsewhere every Sunday, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., often accompanied by Michael Swede. And I love the way Michael speaks English, and I mean that. It's the way that as a Swede he pronounces things almost like makes them mean different things. It's wonderful. I love it. It's really good. So if you're into this sort of stuff and you want to keep studying, Eli's show on a Sunday is a good show for you to tune into. 3 p.m. on Radio Soapbox.
Amen.
Yeah,
amen.
Cool.
But I think I answered my own question, or I said we need to have an expression for people who are so nice, but yet not really here, right? They're not really here. And I think what I came up with, what? Starbucks?
Starmabots.
No,
but he's not nice.
No, what about
or people? Or
what
people
about them
that appear to be nice, but if you could hear them after that, you'd hear them say,
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Yeah. Well, the idea I came up with is sickeningly nice. Sickeningly nice. I know we got one called sickeningly sweet, but that terminology can be applied to people, what do you call it? What's the word? The sweetener, the fake sweetener.
I think
that too.
Oh,
the word that springs to mind. The word that springs to mind that we
Aspartame.
use over here, that I think Eric will be, you might have it too, is smarmy.
Smarmy?
Smarmy.
But they're nicer than
known
smarmy.
as bottom lickers.
But they're
arse kisses.
well, yeah.
Yes.
Well, those
Smarmy,
are people,
always sucking up toadies, we call them. They're sucking up to
Yes.
teacher and everything, and they're always incredibly,
Yeah.
They're revoltingly thankful for things, and it's just completely insincere. They're not. These people weren't that bad. They weren't smarmy, but they were a bit.
Right? No, they weren't.
Yeah. No, they weren't that
they
bad.
weren't brown
But
noses.
sickeningly nice.
No, they weren't.
No,
brown
they
noses.
weren't that
have,
either.
We have ladies that have
sickeningly
got,
nice.
we have
Yeah,
ladies
okay.
that have
That's best I
multicoloured
can do.
hair and piercings, things
Oh.
like that, and I call them members of the low IQ pride movement. They're showing that people with a low IQ
Low
can get somewhere in life. The low IQ pride.
Yeah.
So,
right. They can't. No.
Yes. Well, they, you see them on marches and things like that. I think they have to be taken there because they get lost otherwise. But so I look on lefties as low IQ pride. They're
for
proud
sure.
of having low IQ.
Yeah.
What
But they're
was
not
that?
nice.
That
They're not
Whoopi-
nice people.
Oh, they're
You know,
not. nice.
these
was
ladies.
that
the
Whoopi
one where-
Goldberg? What was that
Oh,
Whoopi
yeah, that-
Goldberg line? Look,
what-
a tropical
what she-
fish and its mate.
Are you talking about the Whoopi Goldberg on Star Trek? Talk about
No,
a
the Whoopi-
sickeningly nice psychologist.
No. The
Right.
Whoopi Goldberg on Jumping Jack Flash, the movie.
Okay.
Look.
I think
she
everybody's
comes
lovely.
across somebody with multicolored hair on the street.
I love everyone. I think
Is
they're
it,
all
look,
lovely.
a tropical fish
Yeah.
and its mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg.
But these people
sounds
aren't
like a polite-
sarcastic. They're not being sarcastic. But I was reminded of the two old ladies in Arsenic and Old Lace. But I just want to mention that Cary Grant or Archibald Leach was fantastic in that movie because his role was he thought he had the blood of his two aunties, and at the climax of the movie, and who was the American blonde who played the girlfriend? And he's debating whether he should marry her because he thinks he's part of that bloodline and he doesn't want her children to be crazy, right? Wacko. Jailbait for the Wacko farm, right? And then during the conversation, he realized, oh, you were adopted. What? Adopted? Oh my goodness, that's the best news I ever heard in my life. Oh, I can get married now and I won't have sick babies. This is kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, looking it up, Eli, I was looking the film up. One of the reasons probably why it's so good is that it's directed by Frank Capra, who went on to do It's a Wonderful
Oh,
Life
right.
a few years after that. And I mean, it's a brilliant now that you've mentioned it, I'm going to go and watch it probably tomorrow or something, or over the weekend. I love these old
It's so
classic things.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
brilliant film. It really is
Right.
brilliant. And so
Cary
there's
Grant,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay. So the American Paul was going to say something before I interjected that question or something. But I do want to address the lady's question, not necessarily her particular circumstances, but it's something that all Christians need to know, and probably the Jehovah's Witnesses don't know it, even though they supposedly follow Jehovah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's Psalm 27. Whenever you're in a very serious situation, you just can't seem to get out of it. Like you're losing all your money, you're losing your home, all of this stuff. And Psalm 27 just nails it. It's very short, and I'll just read the whole thing. Psalm 27, verse 1, a Psalm of David. Yeah, and I use the name Yahweh because Exodus 3:14 and 15 tells us his name is I am that I am, and that is my name forever, and it translates to Yahweh. That's the way it's pronounced in Hebrew, actually. Okay, and Yahweh is my light and my salvation, and whom shall I fear? All right. So if you trust in the Lord, as most Christians put it, but the only way you can really be in His favor is to obey His laws, and because Christians aren't obeying His laws, they're in this happy, lucky twin phase of life where they think everything is just hunky-dory, and it's not, and it's going to bite you in the ass one of these days. Yahweh is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. All right? If you obey His law, they can't touch you. Though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of Yahweh, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Yahweh all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Yahweh and to inquire in His temple. So you got to fixate your consciousness on your Creator. For in the time of trouble He shall hide me in His pavilion. In the secret of His tabernacle shall He hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. And now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in His tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto Yahweh, and for deliverance, of course. Hear, O Yahweh, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me, and answer me. When thou saidst, seek ye my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, O Yahweh, will I seek. Hide not thy face far from me. Put not thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O God of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsake me, then Yahweh will take me up. Teach me thy way, O Yahweh, and lead me in a plain path, etc., etc. You can finish that on your own. Psalm 27. If you find yourself in serious trouble and don't know what to do, pick up Psalm 27 and read it. What I've done, I just type it out and post it on my refrigerator door. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's the power of the Psalms of David. But Yahweh does not hear the prayer of a sinner. So if whatever's going wrong, you have to correct your end of it. Okay. So if, for example, in a marriage situation, it's usually a two-way street. Okay. It's usually a two-way street, and you have to do everything you can to show love to your partner, even though you're disagreeing mightily on this and that. Okay. And etc. Okay, so
Yes.
I just wanted to get that out there.
No, it's a
Okay?
good one. The Psalms, if you get past the word, because I think when people hear that word, this is me, right? This is how I always used to respond to that word. It used to make me think of cold, drafty churches and some vicar boring me to death about something that he'd never set a context for, and me looking at all these pasty-faced, clap-happy sort of people, and it makes me, there's a part of me, the old part of me would shudder on it. But in terms of it simply being an intelligent, almost prose poem, They are immensely powerful, and I sometimes just flick through it and just see which one comes up and read them. It's very interesting, almost like right here. Let's just open the page. Let's see what comes up. There's nearly always something compellingly valuable in it, and I think it's, again, I mean, although this is moving into a more sort of serious area with the whole thing, we understand intellectually that we die, but when you get it. When you know it. And this doesn't occur to you when you're young, and it probably shouldn't. Not if your life is a buoyant one and you're being productive and making all your errors, which you're subsequently hopefully going to learn from, which is basically what I think all the process is about. It's not in the forefront of your mind. But as you get older, I just realized, I talked to someone the other day and I said, well, here I am in my mid-60s, and I suppose many other people who are in their mid-60s must have lost people by now. They must have. Right. They must have lost them. Like one of the ladies that I was with yesterday, she was off to see her mum, who was 90, which is pretty good, but she'd lost her husband when he was young. She'd lost her daughter at the age of, her daughter died at 30. Everybody's got something everyone has got something in their life, like a little cross, a burden, some sort of tragedy, we would call it, that they're carrying around. And it happens to everyone, it seems to me. And yet, of course, those in power seem to be impervious to this. It doesn't happen to them because they're so obsessed with their ideology and are completely, I think they're almost like in denial of this, which is what makes them so dangerous as well. They don't have any respect for the fact that they've been created by something which they don't understand. And I think they hate that. I think they hate the idea that they can't explain it all away with science, because you can't. You can't. It's the wrong tool for the job. Yeah.
I finally came up with the correct terminology.
Ooh.
And it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I was thinking about that movie.
Yeah.
Jovially oblivious.
Jovially oblivious. Well, they
excellent.
Kind of are.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. Yeah,
what's your feeling, Eli, on demonic possession? People that have been possessed by demons. Because I've come up against this, where somebody has got two personalities, and they'll flip from one side to the next one, like Jekyll and Hyde. 1 minute, and you're completely stressed out trying to understand what's going on. It's frightening.
Well, here's what you do: you just tell that person to turn over. Right? You turn over, please.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad it's not that easy. That's jovially oblivious.
Yes.
There's a lot of people like that in the insane asylums. They have no care in the world. They're just sort of floating around like the two aunties in arsenic and old lace. Okay? It's hard to believe there are people like that.
Yeah, but the psychopaths. The government, I believe, are psychopaths. Because they do they do not understand love. They don't understand loss, and at funerals they can't understand why people are crying. That type of thing. I mean, if you've read the book Puzzling People, I don't agree with everything in there, but there's quite a bit in there it's very truthful. And I think Dr. Hare, who's a leading authority on this, has come, this is my personal view, very close to admitting that psychopaths are not human. They are a different form of human.
They have demons.
Well, I think maybe, but what they do, they try and infect others with their demon. Their demons are trying to look for recruits, and this is what I found.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I think you're right, Eric. With all of that kind of stuff, it definitely takes place. You've heard of Madame Blavatsky, ISIS Unveiled, and the Secret Doctrine.
Yes.
A few years before she died, I've got these books and I haven't read them, but I will at some point. I mean to, because they kind of augment things. Again, all of this other stuff has to be read with a careful eye. In fact, nearly everybody, all the intelligent people that have put me onto these books say, question it as you go through, and you find one of the silly habits, or one of the errors I used to make in the past, maybe something you might recognize. You'd come across a new block of information. It could be about anything, and you think, that's it. I know this. A few years go by, and you start to see other views coming in, and you go, oh, it wasn't exactly as accurate as I thought. I think there probably has never been one book that has been wholly accurate. The Bible could be it, but as we've said, it's been mangled so much that you've got to be very careful with how you read it. You need these sort of key words. But I think a couple of years before she passed away in New York, I think it was in the 1890s, at one of these meetings where she is communicating with an ascended master, or however they are described, because she's looking out onto the street in New York, I think it is, and they're looking down. And inside every individual, she sees like a glowing light. Like, I would say this is like the ember of God. This is everybody's got this little ember inside, and part of being here is to fan that, to become wiser, to learn from your experience. It's the most amazing sort of thing that we've been given. It's extremely challenging as well, but it is an amazing thing to actually live through, to be given life and to be able to question things and to sort of do all this stuff. So the vast majority of the individuals that she saw while she was accompanied by this spirit or this presence that they looked at had this light in them, but she noticed that there were a small minority that did not, that had nothing in them at all. That was they were completely absent, and it goes on in the narrative to explain what we would really call psychopaths. That these were individuals that had all the outward appearances of being human, and that they were very good at mimicking the behavior of what they considered to be the agreement within society, but there was actually really nothing there. And there's a letter, I think, that she'd received from a woman in America who had read this and wrote to her, or it might have been someone, and talking about her husband. And she said, when I read this, I was struck, the impact on me was immense, because I realized my husband, who I've been with for 27 years, is exactly the way that you've described this. For some reason, I cannot get close to him. There's something missing, something seriously not there that should be there. And he doesn't connect with me in the right way. And they were going through all these attributes, these things like they don't laugh properly. You know, when you laugh uncontrollably and you can't actually get on top of it, and it's fantastic. When you get slightly hysterical and you really get a fit of the giggles. Can you ever think of psychopaths getting a fit of the giggles? You can't. They don't do that.
No, they can't. No.
They don't fall apart uncontrollably and lose complete control and just get the sheer sort of, at times, the unbelievable joke of life, because it is at times. You've got to laugh about it. You know, we study seriously, but every now and again you go, oh boy, this is so bonkers and out there. They don't get like that. They're always serious all the time. They're never not serious.
You're right. And I'll tell you what, I found the psychopath that came into my family, when my uncles and that was all laughing around, having a right old laugh, he would go as if it was painful. Absolutely, it's like pain to him.
Yeah,
and
because he didn't get it. He didn't get it.
It's not.
He didn't have the joy.
It was literally, you could see him go cringing as if it's so painful that we was all laughing and he didn't laugh.
He couldn't get into that space. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, I didn't mean he wouldn't get the jokes intellectually, but yes,
right.
That's right.
Yeah, and when they seem to be vacant, it's because the demon is off to the side, while that person is still standing off to the side. And then when you're not focusing on her, the demon comes back.
And also, he knew all the techniques. Like, for example, if he walked into the house, he would remain standing and say, well, come and sit down. You look uncomfortable standing. I prefer to stand. And the reason why, it put people on edge. And psychopaths feed on stress. They love stress. So
fear.
Yes, that's right.
Fear, stress, anger. Yeah.
And quite honestly, it's horrendous. This character married my sister, and to change my sister from. And by.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a book about it, and I didn't publish it because I believed that people wouldn't believe it. You know, it's so incredible what happened. But it's impossible.
I won't mind reading that, Eric, if you've still got a copy. If you think
I'm rewriting it.
All right. Okay. Well,
I'm rewriting it, and the reason why I'm rewriting it, and it's taking a time because I find that it gets to me, and I'm writing two books at once, a comedy book and this book, and I have to go to the comedy book because I can only write in small it's taken a hell of a long time.
I can see that. Yeah, I can feel
because it gets me depressed, and it gets me into a horrendous mood because it comes back. You have to relive it. What happened? But it is quite something. It's something that unless you've been through it, it's very difficult to explain. But what it was a microcosm of the way governments work. Absolute microcosm. Seriously.
They're run by demons, right?
Precisely.
Yeah, exactly.
And what this character did, he set up suspicion, to make everybody suspicious of each other, and then started rumours and used my sister as a loudspeaker. So he would let her tell certain things. He tried to split my parents up. He tried to destroy my life. And unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. What would happen if you tackled him on something evil that he's made up about you?
He would deny
it. He would deny it and say, I don't know what you're talking about. And also, I've noticed Benjamin Netanyahu, he has what I call
there you go. He's great.
Clinical speech. And all psychopaths have clinical speech. And that is they pronounce everything correctly and look you in the face as if they are absolute the extreme of everything. And then behind your back, when you've left, they'd say, they've got this obsession about mental illness. And it's like, well, you've been. Are you a little ill in the mind? Because it's not a thing to say about me, and all that. Absolute and twist everything round, twist and turn. And the other one he put into my sister is she used to question what is normal. What's normal?
Yeah.
And you think,
not me.
What's normal?
Right?
And you think, what is it? And it was absolutely a microcosm of the way governments.
It is, Eric.
Yeah,
it really.
It was very true insight. It is. It's like
they
a
live.
confederacy of psychopaths. It really is. There's that book by that Polish guy called Lobozewski. I can't forget his name. Obviously, I didn't. Lobozewski.
Oh yes,
called
I know the one.
Ponerology, and ponerology is the study of systemic evil, organised evil.
Yes,
particularly as displayed through government. It is it's a form of systemic evil, and about all the conventions that they use. Yeah, they are. Sorry, please finish.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. But I was going to say, when my sister was doing one of her flipping backwards and forwards of two personalities, he was standing there grinning in the corner, just grinning. And you say, "Hang on, what's going on? What's the joke? What do you find so funny? Don't bring me precise talk. Don't bring me into it. It's to do with your family."
Right,
and it's all
he started all of it
correctly. He started it,
He started it. And he's pretending to be standing off to the side. Yeah.
And no, they act as if they are the master of, as if they are the only, Israel does this. They say, well, this is the only democracy in the Middle East. And they are the only level-minded person in the situation. They are the rock of honesty. They are the to look up to, and they're actually gaining strength from that. And when you left that situation, it took you about 3 days to get over visiting them. That's how bad it was.
Right? Yeah, psychic vampires. They suck your energy.
They were.
They suck your energy. There's a fantastic book called Eros on Crutches. And I'm trying to find a summary of it, but it is available online. Let me just, while I'm looking for this, there's these people who are partially psychopathic, but they have the inability. They cannot feel love.
That's right.
They have no warmth or tenderness toward anybody, even themselves, obviously. Okay, and that describes Netanyahu, as we like to call him.
Yeah.
And when I'm speaking of Jews in general, especially the liberal ones who are protesting that they are, such good people, they, for example, if they criticize Christians or make fun of us, they will say, "Oh, we're just being irreverent." Okay, we have a right to be irreverent, don't we? But if you're irreverent toward them, all hell breaks loose, right? You're a hater, you're a Nazi, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They can't take it. They can't take it. They dish it out, but they can't take it.
I found that book, Eli, that I'm certainly as a PDF, Eros on Crutches, on the Nature of the Psychopath by, great name this, Adolf Guggenbuhl Craig. Adolf Guggenbuhl Craig. What a name.
Anybody named Adolf is good in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It looks fascinating.
Well, okay, what does it say?
Well, I've just got it as a PDF. I'd have to read that. I mean, I can't find a sort of summary of it at the moment. But just, I mean, tapping back in, there was something I forgot to mention as well in that Blavatsky thing that I was mentioning.
Okay.
When they talked about it more, she was asking, she said, how do these people come about, right? How do they exist? What's going on, right? Because we operate, or I operate on the basis, I've talked about this before, when the baby is in the womb, the pineal gland gets to a certain size, and when it functions, that's when the soul comes in and ignites, that's my word, ignites the physical body. That's when you actually came down, and that's when you kick in the womb. That's the first kick, is when you're present. You're in the womb, but that's what happens. So this spirit guide says to Blavatsky, he said it's to do with Atlantis. And there are all sorts of stories about Atlantis, but the scientists there were mucking about with life. Hello, look at today.
Yes,
right?
they
what
were.
They're mucking about with it. And they were keen to create a slave race. Hello, look at what's happening bureaucratically. Keen to create a slave race that they could give orders to that would just obey what they wanted to do, and therefore were not imbued with a soul. They were looking to create some fleshly replica, like the Frankenstein thing, this whole sort of, we're going to create life, even though we don't even understand what it is. And what he said was that when it went down, some of those, along with some Atlanteans, survived. I work on the basis that when Atlantis did go down, the brilliance of that civilization, even though it got corrupted, these are the people like Quetzalcoatl that went to South America and Egypt. The pyramid stuff is Atlantis transferred to the Middle East after this great calamity that had happened. And he said they survived. And these are the descendants of these soulless beings, which Eric unfortunately had one in his life. And certainly, I mean, we might want to look at politics. I've said this before, or the political class as really useful to us, because it's a homing beacon, a magnet for this dead person class, the people of death. They're not fully alive.
Spot on.
And you could say, like people said, well, the Houses of Parliament are full of 650 idiots. I go, yeah, but look how useful it is. It's drawn them all into one space, and one place I'm never going to go, or people I'm never going to interact with are those sorts of people. I don't want them in my life. And it says this in Scripture, if you're confronted with evil, get away from it. You can't deal with it. Just get away from it, and we can get. That's what we have to do. Right. Yeah, you have to get away from it.
I agree, and I'll tell you something. If you have a psychopath present in your family, you will attract other psychopaths. Seriously.
Right.
You will attract them because there's something, I don't know quite what it is that they give out, but and you've just got to get
nothing
as far away from them as humanly possible. That's right. You've got to get as far away from them as humanly possible.
They'll give out meth and cocaine and heroin, right? That's what they'll give out.
Yeah.
Pain.
Oh, crumbs,
but they always blame somebody else. Yeah, always blame somebody else.
This is why I've got no time for any MPs, even ex-MPs, because why would they be attracted to that dung heap in the first place?
Yes, right, yeah.
And there's,
do you think, when Christ is on trial and he's in that confrontation scene and he's addressing them and giving them the greatest verbal lashing that could ever be given to them, could we not possibly guess that the crowd that he's lashing are exactly in that condition or have got an element of that aspect to their nature, because they literally have no kindness in them at all? It's just completely off the charts. It's an evil. You just look, this whole thing is really, it's very, very strange. Actually, just going back to the arsenic and old lace people now on the seafront. Oh, I wish I'd not had that mint. I mentioned about the Shroud of Turin, And I don't know if you've seen this, Eli. Roger Sales, Paul knows Roger. We all know Roger really well. And Roger bullied me. That's a bit heavy. He didn't. He pestered me a couple of times and said, you need to watch this interview between Tucker Carlson. Yes, I've got question marks about Tucker Carlson too. And this chap that has, it's about 8 weeks ago, a couple of months back now, an hour and a half. It's extremely packed with information. You have to sort of stop it every now and again to digest what he's saying. But he has analysed that shroud and looked at the whole thing. And I brought this up with them, and they said, we don't really go in for that sort of stuff. I said, I completely understand. I said, I didn't either. I said, but I would recommend you view this. I think it will have rather a dramatic effect on your thinking, because he musters data about the physical nature of that shroud, which is astonishing. I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah.
He also goes into the scientific cover-up of releasing this information. The British Museum is, of course, involved because he can't let this stuff get out.
Right.
And how the shroud was not under the control of the Catholic Church until the 1980s. It was in this family, I've forgotten the name of it, and they'd had it for over 1,000 years. And when they first did the analysis, when it came out, they were told not to analyse the top left-hand corner because it had a piece of replacement cloth that had been put on there in the 1400s, I think, after the shroud had been in a castle that had been set on fire, and there's smoke marks on it in parts of it, right? And so some nuns or whatever had repaired this top corner of the shroud. What did they do in the 1980s? Which bit of cloth did they analyse? The bit in the top left-hand corner. And they said, it's only it comes from the 1400s. So it's not genuine. This is complete. And he goes into all of this and how it's been mangled. This is a completely different topic. We don't need to go into it. And I'm sort of sitting with it. But it's a very compelling interview. And I think if you go into it with an open mind, you're going to probably come out with a slightly different view, a very different view. He's excellent in terms of him mustering all the scientific data. Like one of the things that really leaps out. They've analysed the cloth and they found the pollen from something like 58 plants. So pollen is emitted during the spring, the time of the year when the event took place. But the pollen from these 58 plants are only found in that part of the world. I mean, it's remarkable stuff. There's tons of things like this, and you go, okay. He just builds it up with evidence from a scientific point of view. Also, that science cannot recreate the markings on that linen at all. And linen, 2,000 years old. It's amazing stuff. Amazing. It's a very compelling. It's a very compelling presentation. Let me put it that way. You might not be convinced, but I think it'd be worth your while if you're interested. Very much so.
Tucker Carlson did an interview with a guy about the shroud, and he was amazed, absolutely amazed.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
And I agree. It is. Oh, okay. All this information is being suppressed. You would think, wouldn't you, that the churches, with all the scientific verification that this is in fact the body of Jesus being in a negative format, as his soul passed through the shroud. It's only the upper layer that contains this negative. The inner threads don't, which is really incredible. Yeah, and all these kinds of things. And the churches are not promoting this at all. You'd think it would be something that would increase the faith of Christians.
It would, but would it not diminish the power of the church? That's what I think.
That's possible too, right? But you'd think that they would attract more followers and say, hey, listen to this, watch this. This is proof that Jesus actually lived and rose from the dead.
Yep.
Oh, no, we don't need that. We don't need that.
I know it's a big ask.
With our fairy tales.
It's a massive ask for people, and you see people debating all this and go yes and no. And I'd not really, and they were saying, well, we don't really sort of look at it from that point of view. I said, look, for most of my life, I haven't either. I said, I only stumbled across this a few months. I've had plenty to think about with regards to all this information. Without that, I said, but I think you should spend your time watching it. It's definitely worth watching. They were saying, what did he said? He said science literally cannot recreate markings of anything like this on linen using anything at all, because the temperature that they estimate was so high or so low that if they were to do it, the whole of the linen would just burst into flame. And it happened in he says something like a 40 billionth of a second they've analysed. Now, I don't know where he gets this from.
Nanoseconds.
And I'm sure people listening are going, blah, 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 blah. And you're right to do that. But if you want to spend a little time having your mind opened up a bit more, possibly, then it's definitely well worth an hour and a half of your time investment, I would suggest.
I can think of some psychopaths who would not want this information to come out.
Well, yeah.
All right. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, but the church world has become psychopathic too, with all the fluff and fodder they put out instead of real scripture. Right? It's just incredible. And you know what's happened to the Church of England. Yeah.
Well,
they have a lady.
The graffiti.
They have a lady in charge now, don't they? And they were the arsenic and old lace. I should stop calling them that. The couple I met, terrible, Eli. I'm never going to view it.
Ladies.
It's completely twisted. It's twisted exactly what I was doing yesterday. Oh God. But they were completely in agreement. They said, "Yeah, it's ridiculous." I said, "Oh, good." They know what the traditions are. They know much that is right, and of course we disagree on other things. And you find that with probably everybody in this arena to some degree. But it was definitely worth while me spending an hour with them because I got a free mint out of it, even if it has poisoned me. So
right, yes, poisoned your mind.
It has. It has.
But truth poisons the mind of the oblivious.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to eat the pill.
Yep.
Eat that red pill. Come on, eat that red pill. It won't hurt you. And then, you might be born again, right? Your pineal gland might just open up.
Yep.
Yeah, Blavatsky was absolutely right. Yeah.
What's your view of born-again Christians, Eli?
They're the jovially oblivious. That's what they are. Because they're fed all these lies that all you have to do to get into the kingdom, so they use the word saved, is just believe in Jesus. That's all you got to do. Well, happy, happy, joy, joy. What was it? What was that cartoon character that went around being happy, happy, joy, joy?
I don't know.
For no reason, right? The world's crumbling around. Well, happy, happy, joy, joy. And then, of course, the safe from the 99th floor crashes on his head. Right. The world is a dangerous place, and you need to know that. Stop believing all these lies of the goody two shoes pastors who say you don't have to obey the law. You don't have to be concerned about rapists and psychopaths and child traffickers and child molesters. You don't have to worry about that. No, just believe in Jesus and you'll be fine. Well, the Bible doesn't say that anywhere, and that idea, that ideology, you won't get into the kingdom. That's it's the happy-go-lucky. Born again is a good. Born again is a false concept. Okay, it's born from above, and so they have this very false concept that it's an emotional high. That's all it is. It's an emotional high.
You're spot on.
Pentecostals. Yeah.
Spot on. And I mean, I've found people with true faith keep it to themselves. They don't make a big deal about it. And I've found the born again ones I've come up against have been the most obnoxious people I've ever met because they have spoilt kid syndrome. And it's all me. Aren't I marvellous? Look! I've saved this person from sin. Oh, I'm so superior. I'm marvellous. I'm saved. They're very, very selfish. They're very, very selfish.
Yes, they are.
I've found that.
It's very.
And very, very wicked as well. They can be very wicked people.
Yeah, they can be. They can be. My nephew's wife. Who shall be named unnamed?
Phew.
It's just like I keep on sending. I keep on sending her videos of how awful people in the world are, and she routinely replies, "Oh, I'm not concerned with that. I'm saved."
Really?
Yes, that's it. That's the exact mentality.
Yeah,
and
there is a lot of evil under the sun. There is a lot. Mm-hmm. Everywhere you look, it is a distress. The more you've looked, and that's why it is strong meat for men, as it were, to use that phrase. You've got to look at this stuff, and it does affect you. But if you don't look,
Yes.
you don't know. You remain. You choose to ignore it, and that really is, I think, the only sin, the sin of ignorance, where you know that something bad is going on, and you say, "Oh, that's got nothing to do with me." What?
And you
Hello?
ignore it. You ignore it. Christians are being trained to ignore the evil in the world and pretend they're going to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call saved.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they call saved. Okay, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. We started out being talking about what? Arsenic and old lace.
We did.
Come full circle. It's a psychopathy or psychopathy, however it's pronounced. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's
it
a
is.
crazy world we're living in, but it's all where your head is at. Where your head is at. Can you experience real love, not just pretended love? That's where it's at. And Jesus experienced real love and tried to share how you're supposed to do it, right? And you don't allow evil into your household.
No.
Precisely. Spot
Okay.
right on.
You need this
All
knowledge to be able to identify it more rapidly and deal with it and get it out of your life. I think when you're young, you think, "Oh, we can combat it all." You can't. They're operating without a code. They don't have a code. They're not aspiring to the only purpose is to pull you down.
Exactly.
It really is.
And look what the government's done. They're pulling everybody down. Just look at the government. They're pulling everybody down in this country.
Even each other. That's what happens to liberals, too. The competition of psychopaths. Right? Okay, gentlemen, I've got to go. My landlady has some kind of serious problem. So, but I'll leave you with.
She's not a landlady
toes.
of the arsenic and old lace variety, is she?
No, not that type. Oh no, well, actually, she is. She is. Okay. So, but I've got to calm her down. Okay. So,
Eli, it's been wonderful having you. People can catch you on Bloodlines, can't they? Every Sunday,
pleasure.
10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m.
Eurofolk Radio.
UK. Yeah, absolutely. Eurofolk Radio, also on Radio Soapbox and elsewhere.
Okay.
It's been great having you. Really enjoyed it. We'll have you back in a few weeks' time. Brilliant, Eli. Thank you very much for your time and and everything you've said. Really enjoyed it today.
Yeah, thank you guys. And I'm just gonna cry in my beer.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay, guys. Take
Catch
care.
you later.
Bye.
See you, Eli.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. See ya. Bye.
All good stuff. All good stuff.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. We'll have to get Eli on to talk about his Vietnam experiences.
We can do that. Yeah, we can do one of those. We can definitely do one of those.
Because he's got a very interesting, very, very interesting view in that. Because let's face it, here in Britain, we were kind of sanitised from it in many ways. Because I remember it very clearly. Every night when the news came on, it was Vietnam, all the time. But,
all of these things, they're like staging points, aren't they, in this systemic decay that's been injected into Western Christendom. I'm just going to use that word. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about all the organised religions, but it has all of these things. Now they're at absolute fever pitch with all the technocratic control. I think one of the things I remember another comment from Blavatsky is that she was saying that she saw that Christianity, and this is not a bad thing, I would suggest, in the sense that these organised religious versions of Christianity are mangled beyond repair anyway. Like, I don't know what they've done in the Church of England. I don't even worry about it. People get concerned about this stuff. I just view it as another symptom of the loss of the whole thing, of it being silly.
Yeah.
It's incredibly and dangerous. It's definitely broken the hearts of a lot of people, but it's not mine because I don't really view it in that way. But
what's broken my heart is Canterbury Cathedral. There's graffiti up the wall, deliberately put there by some geezer wearing a frock. And that, to me, is vandalism. And that geezer in the frock, he should, quite honestly, they should be given a scrubbing brush and a bucket and say, right, you stay there until that's all cleared off. That's all wiped off. It's absolutely disgusting what they've done. All that beautiful architecture, it is taking the mick, isn't it? It really is taking the mickey.
And every single area, just like when you're talking about this psychopath being present in your family, is a sort of demoralisation and confusion process on purpose. And that sort of cliched view of demons, glee is the word that springs to mind.
Yes.
There's a glee in them creating a downfall. They've got nothing to build themselves, but those that want to build and bring beauty in the world, they are to be abused and demeaned and verbally run down. They've managed to gain control of the communication spaces such that they're able to bombard these messages out everywhere and convince a lot of people who don't think about these things critically, because most people have not been trained or have lost the muscle to think critically. It's kind of educated out of them at school. They come out of it not capable of really functioning as a questioning individual. These people get overwhelmed by it and believe it's the agreement and all this kind of stuff, So all the things that we rant against are all kind of aspects of this decay. We've talked about the loss of men with pipes and engineering and the hideous buildings and all of this stuff, the removal of beauty from the world. I think you sent me a video about it the other day, didn't you, Eric? And somebody
That's
actually
right.
I haven't got around to watching it yet. Sorry.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to cut in there, but what I was going to say is that I could normally show me a house or show me a building, and I could give you within about a couple of years either way, roughly when the house was built, because you can tell by the era. But anything from about 1970s onwards, no, you can't, because it's just a load of pouch of nothing. It's just, I call it amnesia architecture. That's basically what it is. It's just, there's no style. Where, for example, if you went to the Cotswolds, you see beautiful Cotswold stone being used on the buildings. That's no longer the case. They're getting bricks from almost here, there, and anywhere. So you can't really tell. I mean, once upon a time, a building, say a house, was the building materials came from local, so it blended in with the rest, like feng shui. Everything sort of blends in. Not now. You'll have bricks that's probably come from Denmark or Germany or out of Mongolia or wherever. Horrendous. It really is. And there's a state going up round where I live. And again, it's just a bland nothingness. Absolutely vile. I just don't know what's happening to society. I really don't.
You do. I think you do. I think we do.
Yeah.
I think the listeners here do know. I think the challenge, again, is to know how to behave to overthrow it or to assist it more rapidly to destroy itself from within. I think that's the way. That thing about, is it Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun, one of them, who took everything over, while he was out there doing his stuff, back at court, so much power was accruing in terms of administering this colossal empire that had been acquired very rapidly, that the guys back at court began to fight amongst themselves and destroyed it from within. This is what happened to Rome. It happens to all of them.
Yeah.
I remember Oscar Wilde, not that I'm necessarily a great fan, but he did make a very good point about the empire when he said that the problem with it is, he said, is that all the geniuses and brilliant people went out there, leaving a bunch of idiots back at base who've destroyed it from within. And that's kind of, if you look at the nature of... Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But I think that we need to do counter-subversion. And with subversion, what you do, you don't stop your enemy, you help them to destroy themselves. And that's what they've done with us. So we got to counter that by helping them to destroy themselves.
We have to...
Sounds a bit weird.
No, it doesn't. It makes a lot of sense. Maybe we need to invoke Napoleon's statement, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. I think these people are walking 24/7 mistakes as human beings. Everything about them, it's not really a mistake because they're doing it consciously. They know what they're doing. I don't know whether they know exactly what they're doing it for. I suppose to give worship to their God, which isn't the one I know. But I can't see it. There has to be something really foul at the very base of it. And if you study sort of ancient religions from Babylon onwards, there is this counter-opposing force of darkness. And, it's simply true. We're fighting spiritual wickedness in high places. That's exactly what we're having to deal with. And
we are,
I think,
but... sorry, Paul, carry on. It's okay.
No,
what I was going to say is they seem to be, with psychopaths I've come up against, especially the one I married in my family, extremely naive, on the other hand. And that is the chink in the armour. I mean, he would repeat what they said on the adverts, like with British Gas. A lot of people are going back to British Gas now, so I've heard. Yeah, because you've seen it on the advert. Incredibly naive. An insurance salesman would have a field day with them. That's the weirdest thing about it. You know,
Yes.
this naivety they have. Their brain really does think in a completely different way to ours. It's alien to ours. And I often said, if you wanted proof that aliens are living amongst us, he would have been it. Seriously. You know.
Have you noticed, Eric, as well, that these people do not have any shame?
Oh, that's right. Yes, there's no embarrassment or shame at all. No, they don't get embarrassed at all. That's the most amazing thing.
There's like no inner conscience about a standard of grace and decency towards others. It's, I've got all these ideas. I rightfully should be in charge. Nothing that you say is relevant because I know far more than you. I'm better than you. You will do what I say. There's some aspect like that. And when you point out their mistakes, I mean, Starmer's perfect for this. He's impervious to other people's communication, which means he's not a communicator. I mean, I always operate on the basis that we've been given 2 ears and 1 mouth. I mean, it's rich coming from me, and we should be using them in that proportion. And of course, when communication really works well, that is kind of what's happening, that you listen more and maybe I'll talk less as I get older. I don't know whether that's very useful for a radio show.
Oh, no, talk more. We need more talk. But quite honestly, though, Paul, I got talking to someone once who she works in, I think it was the BBC, a local radio, had quite a top job, not on the air, I hasten to add, but in the office. And someone came in who was a psychopath and started a rumour that she was stealing soap out the loo. And started trouble, and it's a long story, but I'll condense it right down because I know we've only got a few moments left. But eventually what happened is the girl was frightened of going to the loo, so she went over the road, to the loo over the road, and then the psychopath started the mental illness routine. That's what they do.
Right.
And this psycho drove her out. And the way this psychopath did it, she was making out that she was stealing soap out the ladies' loo. And that sounds a bit weird. And the girl was in the ladies' loo, and in the corner of her eye noticed that this psycho was slipping soap into her handbag. And she said, "Caught you. Gotcha." And she said, and then the psycho turned it around. "No, I wasn't. I was trying to help you. Look, you really are not well." And it was gaslighting all the way through. And eventually the girl just left. She just couldn't handle it anymore. And of course the psycho got into the senior position.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
I've not read anywhere near enough comments out from all you guys and gals in both the YouTube and Rumble chat, so forgive me. We've just been having a bit of a field day here with talking and stuff. A good one in here from John Pontes, if I've pronounced your name correctly, on YouTube says, "Until British and Americans repent of what was done to Germany in World War II, nothing will get better." It's definitely a key part of it. I think we are repenters here. We do fully understand. It's always a topic worth bringing up with anybody. Certainly for most of the Brits I meet, they're completely clueless as to the real causative force. I actually did bring this up as well yesterday with these ladies, talking about these conflicts, and I said, we weren't the good guys. You do know that, right? Of course, they look at you. They don't really know. That's another problem that they have, is that because they're focused almost exclusively on looking at this message that they want to get across, they're not including, I would suggest, certainly from my point of view anyway, enough sort of contemporary knowledge of recent times that show the sheer serious nature of what actually happens. You can't just keep thinking, well, if we'll wish it better. No, there are certain actions that have to be taken. And we've been involved in some terrible, terrible things. And to a great degree, we have to say it's because this country was overthrown a long time ago. America was overthrown almost at its inception. Nearly all of them have been overthrown by forces that pretend to be representing you, but are secretly working to undermine everything that you're trying to build. And we're now at the sort of culmination of that in many, many ways. It's This is the tragedy of our times. Is that what we call it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. And Etta Volk has come out with a good one. She said World War II was the last true battle. Yes. And we lost.
We did. The European people as a whole, across the whole of Europe and in America, lost.
Yeah.
Because the strings were being pulled for other purposes. And of course, the wretched offspring of these people is now here, running the European Union and the United Nations and all this other manure that we've got to deal with. Yeah. Eric, it's been tremendous tonight. I've really enjoyed the whole thing. It's been fantastic.
Likewise,
I always
yeah.
enjoy it.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, everybody that's been tuned in and listening to us. We had Eli James on for a couple of hours there. Had a great time with Eli, so that's good. Next week, fingers crossed, internet technicalities and connectivity issues being in order, Nathan Lucius will be joining us, the author of Fake Awake, and look forward to having Nathan on. It's been a few weeks since he was here, and we'll be back with you then next week. So thanks, Eric, and you've got a show coming up on Sunday as well, haven't you? So
that's right.
Look forward
I've
to
got
that.
a Buddhist monk coming on. So there we go.
Bit of peace. We'll do a bit of peace. That'd be
That's
fantastic.
right.
All right, brilliant, Eric. Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see you again same time next week. Go well, and we look forward to being back with you next Thursday. Bye for now.
Yeah,
Bye,
many
everyone.
thanks. Thanks. Bye.